All right, y'all. Welcome to All Politics are Local, America's number one political hip hop radio talk show. We've got a real important show going on tonight. We're going to talk about some really important things that are happening in our community. We're going to talk to a number of folks, and we're going to talk to some young people who are students at the Newark School of Global Studies. So we're going to talk with them tonight, and we're going to talk with their parents as well, and we're going to try and get it from their perspective exactly what's taking place and what's going on. So, welcome to another edition of All Politics are Local. I'll let Zaid give you the further rundown. But then, of course, later tonight we have the Congressman Donald M. Payne Jr., who's going to come up at 8 o'clock with, of course, the first edition of the Payne Report for 2023. So, Zaid, you want to give them the breakdown for the rest of what's happening?
We are bringing in the new year strong and heavy. This first segment, as Ed alluded to, these young people and their parents about the ugly face of Islamophobia showing up at a Newark public school. The town with this kind of history is incredible. But we're going to hear that story from their mouths in a moment. Just after that, on the plus side, Newark homicides are down to a 60-year low.
Yeah.
And we're going to have the leader from the Office of Violence Prevention come on and give us a look back and a look ahead from as to how that went down in 2022 and how we build on that in 2023. And the Payne report, the first Payne report of 2023, couldn't be more timely. On the second anniversary of the siege of the Capitol, and in the midst of a blog jam being created by a handful of people who all were a part of and supported what happened on January 6th. The Payne report couldn't come at a more critical time. And of course, we'll wind up with our own DJ Rhino on the latest in hip hop. So we've got a loaded show tonight. Stay tuned. Tell a friend, right? Share it out. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. And this is the drum that you need to be listening to right now. So we're ready to go to work, my brother. Let's go to work.
Yep. And one other thing you want to add is that McCarthy can't seem to get the votes he need to be in control of the House.
Talk about chickens coming home to roost.
Yeah, they seem totally chaotic, man. So that's going to be real interesting in terms of us getting into a conversation with the congressman later as well. Okay. So let's get started. Want to welcome some of the young people to the show. As well as some of the parents. So we want to give you all an opportunity to introduce yourself. Ms. Brown, you want to start first? Just introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Brenda. I don't know. I'm on here twice. I don't know why.
We have you once. We have you. Okay, you're fine.
Okay. My name is Brenda Brown. My son is Terrill Cooley. He was a junior at Newark School of Global Studies. Okay. And I'm glad to be on tonight.
Thank you. Welcome.
We're glad to have you. We're glad to have you.
You young people want to introduce yourselves?
But there's a daddy in the mix. Let daddy start it off.
Uh-oh.
You're muted.
You're muted, my brother.
Tell your daddy he's muted.
There we go.
There you go.
So first of all, I'm Raashon. This is my daughter Akela. She go to Global Study. Went. She's not there anymore. And introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Yamia, and I currently attend Newark School of Global Studies.
Now, wait a minute. We want to hear granddaughter. We want her to say it loud and clear so everybody can hear and see her in radio land, because we want everybody to get your story good, sweetheart. Say your name again.
My name is Yamia, and I currently attend Newark School of Global Studies.
What year are you in, Yamia?
I'm in my junior year.
You're in your junior year. Okay. All right. Now we got you. All right. Let me just set this up for us. And several weeks ago, our beloved mayor alluded to a problem that blew his mind that was taking place that we now know was at your school, and that students of your background were being harassed in a way that we just couldn't believe was happening at this late date, because Newark has such a profound history in terms of Islamic presence in this city that goes back over 100 years. If you knew that history, right? And y'all were right in the midst and have been feeling the brunt of that stuff. And come to find out, it's been going on for a while. So how do y'all want to begin to tell that story? When did this start? What's going on? How have you been mistreated? And just start telling us the story.
Well, I just want to clean up a little bit. It's not just Islamophobia. Not saying that that's not happening. It is happening, but there's also racism. Like that's the main thing of it all. The common denominator is racism. Islamophobia is also in the mix, but that is the that's pretty much the entire blanket of it all. At the school there seems to be a disconnect between the Latino kids and the Black kids. And considering we are the minority, because it's only like maybe 20 in each grade, maybe 20 is a drag.
Less than that.
20 is a drag.
10 maybe
10 in each grade, and the rest of the population of the school is Hispanic. So we seem to find ourselves clashing a lot because they don't respect us at all.
Right, because they're the majority. So, they feel like they got to be their way or no way. And from my point of view of it, I felt like, the principals and the teachers felt that way as well. So it was just a real nonchalant attitude about everything. Once you bring something up, when I go and talk, listen, my child having this problem or that problem, they sent these texts, said this and that. It was just very nonchalant. I had to keep asking for the HIV report, and it was just, and they were so nonchalant about everything. So we made the choice to go ahead and move out.
Ms. Brown, do you want to jump in?
Oh, yes. When I first enrolled my son at Global Studies, I was overjoyed. I was happy. My son was happy. I was delighted. I thought he was going to be going to China and learning a foreign language. I was very excited. Maybe like 2 or 3 months ago, or maybe a little longer than that, I started hearing some different things and seeing some different things. My son's teacher called me and told me, Miss Brown, you should get your son out that school. She let me know about the racial incidents that were happening at Global Studies that I was not aware of at all. And that our first conversation was like a 3-hour conversation.
Wow.
Yeah, I was very upset because I didn't know any of this was going on. And I was very alarmed and very surprised. And I was very upset by the nonchalant attitude and disposition from the principal.
The leadership.
The leadership, that's absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But let me say this too. When I first learned that Mr. Ruiz was going to be the principal at Global Studies, I was taken aback by that. I really was. I was like, wow, I'm going to give him a chance, but I wasn't happy about that at all.
And then the background on this particular principal, Mr. Ruiz, you're saying that because of what in his background?
Well, I'm just saying, if this is a global school, global, that's the word, then why would you put a Hispanic principal there? If this is global, he would not have been my pick at all.
Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
I don't want to get into his personal background, but he wouldn't have been my pick.
So, Ms. Brown, I want to just ask if you guys can reiterate something for me. What is the student population at this school again? Can somebody tell me what that is?
The student population.
It's like the Black kids school, right? The school has always been a majority Hispanic school, so like that's the population right now, and it's always been that way. There's like you can count the amount of black kids on your hand in each group. So that's like the population that's current, and they've maintained that. That's what they want to uphold.
That's why it's probably a Spanish principle.
Yeah, because like it's been shown that he's been going to only predominantly Hispanic schools and promoting the school to only other Hispanics, and not going to other, like not going to like our side of town where there are majority black schools. He only promotes in neighborhoods that look like him, and so he's saying it's global studies, but yet everybody at that school pretty much has the same background, come from the same side of town, have the same story, but it's supposed to be global studies.
When you say everybody at that school, what do you mean? Students, teachers?
Students, staff, there's not a lot of black staff. They just started hiring black teachers.
And it's only one African American teacher. The other two black teachers, and that's the only two, are from other parts of the world. I'm not sure, and I don't want to get it wrong.
So the majority of the staff and the faculty at the school is predominantly Hispanic as well.
Yes.
And the majority of the students at the school are also Hispanic.
Yes.
And so you guys are IDing the problem then is that the racial makeup of the school being predominantly Hispanic, they are discriminating against the black students that are there on campus.
And also, don't forget the teachers, because the teachers was being targeted as well. So
Yes, in one of the classes, the algebra teacher for the freshman or
ninth graders.
yeah, for the ninth graders, they were like throwing calculators at him, and he put in reports for weeks, and the entire the staff administration, they ignored him until recently, where he had to kind of take a break from his job. And most of the three black teachers that we have, they plan on leaving soon.
So this teacher, he was physically attacked, you're saying?
Yes.
And that's happening to all three of the teachers? There are only 3 black teachers?
Yeah, there's only 3 black teachers, but as far as we know, I think the physical stuff happened.
Yeah, I think he was because he was the only one physically attacked. The rest of them only get verbal attacks or like kind of racial.
No, like racially profiled, like past, like called like things like monkeys and
like porch monkeys
yeah.
and things like that. So racially slurs towards the teachers from me. But the thing is, my part about it is that I felt was when you bring this to the principal, when you bring this to the other staff, it's like they're Spanish. So it's like for one instance, where they say one of the Spanish kids said they was gonna rape somebody in the text. When I brought that up to the principal, their attitude was like, well, they Dominican. What does that mean? Like, it's okay for them to say that? Like, it was just, the attitude was just so nonchalant about everything. It's just crazy.
And so the 3 teachers that are there, are they sympathetic to the black students that are there in terms of what's going on?
Yeah.
And
active in the Black Student Union and what like.
I'm sorry, say that again about the Black Student Union?
I think she froze.
Okay, I can speak on that. One of the 9th grade teachers, she is the advisor for the Black Student Union.
She is a what?
She is the Black Student Union advisor.
Okay.
Yes.
And you guys just started that organization?
I don't know how long it's been in effect, but I know Ms. Davis started at Global Studies in September, and that's when she became the advisor.
And why did you guys, why they created the Black Student Union?
From what my understanding is, the Black students needed a safe place, a place to talk about, what was going on, their feelings, what they were going through. And I believe that it was beneficial. I really do. My son was a part of the Black Student Union. And that's where they,
You said was.
Yes, my son. Oh, yes, I transferred my son out of global studies. He's now a junior at University High School.
Right.
And you transferred him out this semester?
I transferred my son out last week.
Wow.
The last week of December, that's when I transferred him out.
And you transferred him out for what reason?
I transferred him out because at the countless meetings, and I mean countless meetings with different people, the principal, the administration staff, the administration team, nothing happened. They didn't take our concerns seriously. And I told my son, I want you to have the best education possible, and you're not getting it at Global Studies. It's not happening.
So your son was being harassed?
Oh, yes, my son was called a chimpanzee in front of the whole class. Yes, he was.
And who called him a chimpanzee?
One of the Hispanic kids in his classroom.
And he reported that to the teacher?
The teacher, his teacher was the one that called me. Nobody else called me from the school. Nobody called me. No one called me. Nobody notified me. No emails, no phone, no text message, nothing. His teacher was the only person that called me.
So let me ask you a question. Have the parents of the Black students that are there, have the parents organized in terms of asking for a meeting with the principal and, of course, other parents of those kids to see what could be done in terms of the harassment of the children?
Oh, we have done that. We have done all of that. All of these things we have done. We met, I think it was last month, we met the principal, the parents, the Black Student Union. We met. And the attitude and the demeanor of the principal, very nonchalant, very uncaring. Because I'm just going to put it out there. His cousin is the state senator.
Oh, who's this?
Teresa Ruiz.
The principal of the school cousin is Teresa Ruiz.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Yes. So there you go.
Well, from my experience on that end, I had several meetings with him, with the principal, some of the staff as well, because my daughter was one of the people that was targeted. They said stuff about 9/11, said her father was the one that blew up the plane, all type of things like that, calling the phone. But they just made a fake Instagram page about it too, not too long ago, doing stuff and all that. So we had different meetings with the principal, with the staff that's there. Some of them sounded surprised to hear what we said, because I don't think they got all the info, because I asked for it in the HIV report, which they said have, but not all of it. And I had different meetings with him. And like she said, he nonchalant. But what he did tell me is the other parents didn't want to meet. Like for the last instance where they broke one of my daughter's AirPods, we had to go back, roll the cameras. They found out who did it and everything. And we were supposed to have a meeting with the parent. They said, oh, the other parent don't want to meet. They're just going to pay for the AirPod. No, we need to discuss what's going on, why it's going on. But once again, the nonchalant attitude, oh, well, they don't want to meet. Well, what y'all going to do about it? So we ended up moving my daughter out as well. And but they could talk to you more about the little student body thing, because they are part of that, or was, I should say.
My cousin, David Allen, he is the founder of the BSU. He's the one who started and created it. I was a member of it. I just attended every meeting I could, help get other Black students there, just so that they could feel comfort in the space that they were in, because there was zero comfort, there was zero support. You didn't get any help from any, because you would tell somebody about it and they would sit there and be like, oh wow, I'm so sorry that happened to you. And then after that, nothing, no write-ups, no reports, no
literally.
Nobody disciplined. Nobody ever disciplined for the behavior.
We would go in the office and report, and they would write it down, sign your name on this, and we would do that. and people would write down specific names, and nobody would be called out, nobody would be in trouble. And if it was, it would be like, did they do that? And then we'd come back and like, oh, well, they said they didn't do that, so we didn't write it up. And it every time we reported something, because it's like every time we reported, we were in the office, we would cry our heart out, and we would be like, this is happening to us, and they'd be like, oh, we hear you, we'll talk to them about it, and then they wouldn't talk to anybody about it.
Yamia, you're still at the school, aren't you?
Yes.
How are your parents taking what's going on with you?
They're like not like they're shocked, but they're not shocked because like the school is not telling them what's happening. Like I can make a report, and the school will not tell them like what's happening. I have to tell them myself, and like we're in the process of getting me out of the school at this moment.
So, Brother Raashon, I want to go back to this parent thing. So, what you said was that you were told that some of the parents do not want to meet in terms of
Right.
meeting the black student parents.
No, I was saying, look, what I was saying was it was an incident
Feedback.
in the school where my daughter, one of the children, took her AirPod and broke it. So when she went to go back to get her AirPod, she couldn't find it. So she told the staff, they viewed the cameras, and see who broke the AirPod. She threw it into a locker. And so they identified her. She was supposed to be disciplined, and her parents were supposed to pay to get a new AirPod. And we were supposed to have a meeting with their parents, the child, and my family. I mean, us in the chat. They said the parents didn't want to meet.
So the parents of the kids that are misbehaving don't want to show up. Is that okay? Okay, all right.
They didn't even meet with us. Correct. That's what the principal said. We don't know if that's the truth, but or if he even ever set it up, but that's what he said. The parents didn't want to meet. So we like now. So what does that mean? Where do we go from here?
Schools have discipline policies, right? Schools have discipline policies. When kids misbehave, there's certain consequences that are a matter of policy that is supposed to happen. What stood out amongst all of the horrible things that y'all talk about, there was a student put something on Instagram that they were threatening someone with rape. How was that?
In the text, they could tell you more about that.
There was this chat amongst my classmates. Like it was pretty much all the boys in my class, and because there's rarely any black boys, there was only Hispanic boys in that group chat. And at first they were just rating girls, just saying, "Oh yeah, I would do her, I would get with her, I would get with that girl." And one of the girls that they mentioned happened to be gay. So then they were like, "Oh well, I her straight, I change her, basically I would make her like have sex with me, or I her, even if she didn't want to." And like they posted pictures of some of the girls for some of the few black girls in my class. They would say, "Oh yeah, I would that thick gorilla." Like they were just calling they were not only just being sexist, they were also being very racist towards everybody that was in the chat. And so when I brought that to the school's attention, they dismissed it. And not to go further, they those same students, because after it came out that I had reported them, they stole on my friend's computer, and they went on because me and my friends had a Google Doc together where we all talked. It was just me and the two other black kids in my class. We were all in a Google Doc together. We would just kind of chat and talk. And they stole my friend's computer, started typing so.
Did she freeze? Did she freeze? They froze. Raashon, if you can hear me, y'all go out and come back in. You froze. She was right in midstream telling an important story, right? And while they're doing that, Miss Brown, let me come back to you. You transferred your son out already. How is he doing with his transition out?
There we go. We didn't hear you out. We froze a little bit. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, she was. I'm sorry. Yes, she was start. Akela was talking about this computer that was stolen,
Right.
And
Yeah,
they
it
were
was
beginning to
supposed
do
to
something with the
be
computer. Retell that. That's where you froze.
Yeah, they took his computer. They started like typing stuff and saying that we said it, and then like took pictures, took it to administration, and the administration tried to say that I was the one harassing them. When I brought them proof, evidence, Instagram accounts, Discord accounts, and I showed them like everything that was happening, instead of doing disciplinary action on those students, they came at me.
So then that's when I got involved because
Wow.
like it just didn't make sense. So now I asked for a meeting with their parents and them, but it was denied. So now I'm like, I told the prince because he tried to say I threatened him, and I want to clear this up a little bit now. Why I got the chance? When I went to the school and I talked to him, I said, listen, while my daughter here, you her father, you supposed to be here to protect her. So anything happened to her, I'm holding you accountable. I'm coming to see you. I ain't coming to see them. I'm coming to see you. I'm holding you accountable. That's how I felt. My daughter's at this school. She bring you the information.
You're supposed to hold them accountable.
She's being targeted. She's the only Muslim girl here. They said her father blew up the 9/11. Come on, what are you going to do? Something? He said, oh, well, that kid got suspended. I said, how? My daughter said he in school the next day. Because I went back the next day. Because she said, oh, the guy's still in school. They told me he was suspended, but he's in school. I asked them, could they prove it? Show me the proof where he got suspended. They give me nothing. But a nonchalant attitude, like, well, we're trying to work on it. And no, I don't know. So,
Miss Brown, you go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, and what district is this school located in? Who's the council?
In the North Ward?
In the North Ward.
Yes.
Is that a Nemo Ramos?
That's
Yes,
right.
that is, sir.
Okay. And have anybody spoken to a Nemo Ramos?
No.
Okay.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
Has anything been reported to the board? I'm looking at this Chalkbeat article. That's telling. Has anything been reported to the board about how this administration has been handling this?
Yes. Yes. And to the superintendent because he knew about it as well.
Right. Okay.
The superintendent was at our school on Monday.
And
Tuesday.
He was there Tuesday?
And he had an assembly about racism and how it's not acceptable. But the Hispanic kids at our school, whenever we have assemblies, they automatically assume it's about race. And so they automatically stop caring. Like the last time we had an assembly about racism, this girl was literally putting on a full face of makeup, not paying attention. And when it was brought to attention that she was doing that, they're like, oh, well, yeah, we'll talk to her. But I have classes with her. She was never once called to any office to talk about the fact that she was doing that. And it's like, when reports are made against Hispanic students, they take forever and a day to come through if they even get addressed. But if a report goes against a Black student, they're quick to want to call people's parents, file a report, and do this and take extreme measures. But when the Black students are telling them that what we're experiencing, they drag their feet, and then nothing is done, and they hope that we forget about it.
And on top of that, when we had a meeting with Mr. Leon, he had came the next day and asked us about a basketball program after complaining about racism. Like, we came to you and said, oh yeah, this is the problem. This is like, we need help with this. Our principal's not doing anything. He came the next day and said, oh, do you boys want to join the boys basketball program? We can start a program here. And then the next time he came, he suggested that, oh, well, if you don't like it here, you can transfer.
Yeah, that was what the assembly was about on Tuesday. He was like, oh, the students who have files against them, like reports against them, they're gonna have to leave the school. And by Thursday, they'll be at their new schools. And if you want to leave, you don't have to stay. But all the people that I know have reports against them have been at school every day so far. Not one of them has missed a single day.
I didn't even know he said that.
So they actually told you that if you wanted to go, you could just transfer without addressing anything.
But now when
when
students are asking for their transcripts, like especially at least when it came to me, I asked for my transcript and they were like, no, we're not gonna let you leave the school. And everybody's like they're pretty much saying like, oh no, you're not allowed to leave the school until the next school year when you're senior and just wait it out. And oh, we're not allowed to do this, we're not allowed to do that. But I know my rights as a student. You're supposed to give me my transcript when I ask for it, but they're saying no, we can't do that.
Let me ask you a question. Do you all know all of the students who have transferred out of the school and their parents? Do you guys know them? Is there a way for us to be able to reach out to them, to be able to talk to them as well? Because the thing is that, you know, if they toward them in terms of their complaints, and they are now currently still ignoring you all with your current complaints, I think what we'd like to do is that if there's a way to be able to talk with those students who have transferred out, those parents, as well as talk with you all, and then see if there's a way that we can, and I'm saying on behalf of the community, if the community can request a meeting with the officials in that school and the parents of the students, right, with community support, to see what is the reason why the parents of those children who are harassing the Black students, why their parents won't meet with you all. Is it that the parents don't speak English? Is it that the parents could, have some sort of issue with meeting with other Black parents? I mean, what is the reason? And what we'd like to find out as a community, if there's a problem, then we're saying, well, shouldn't the adults who are the parents of these children be able to meet and have a conversation to be able to tell their kids to knock it off?
Right, that's what I was trying to do. But
There was no other students who transferred out besides me and Terrill Cooley. Yeah. Last year there was only two. No, that's wrong. There is another student who transferred out this year. Her name's Biaja. She was one of my friends who was in the group chat with me. She transferred out because of the incident from last year, because they were trying to also slap her. They were also trying to put an HIV report onto her. But other than that, the only people who have transferred out so far due to racism are me, Terrill Cooley, and Biaja something. I forgot her last name.
Yeah. Now, yeah, I mean, we'd love to be able to talk with them as well, to be able to do that, because I did tell the mayor when he was on last month that I think that, as a community, we ought to be able to organize with you all and then be able to, talk with the local councilman, and
all the natural stakeholders in the community. Yeah.
And then see if we can have a community conversation with these folks and find out why the parents are not willing to meet with other Black parents. Mm-hmm. So is there a way, Ms. Brown, that we can reach out? Because I know your son is transferred out, but is there a way to be able to reach out with some of the other parents whose kids may have transferred out that you might know?
The best person to talk to is Ms. Davis. She's the Black Student Union advisor. She has a list of the members, the parents, and she's in constant communication with the parents and the students as well.
And she's the president of the student union?
She's the advisor. As of now.
She's a teacher and she's the advisor of the Black Student Union.
Okay.
so yeah, that was one of my plans, and try to talk with the parents to see how we could solve this amongst ourselves. Because that's why I said the kids, I was like, let's see, but we never got to talk to the parents. I don't even think that he told them. That was just my honest point. So that's why I think we never met, if he ever even told them. So
yeah, that's why I'm saying I think what we should do, Brother Zaid, if we can talk with Ms. Davis and then get in touch with all the other kids who have transferred out, because I think what we're hearing from the students, that the number one problem seems to be racism at this school, right? And that they're being targeted because they're Black. And so that is a real issue, particularly in a city that has a black mayor, and in a city that has a predominantly black city council, right? So all of that is a problem, and we ought to be able to call for a meeting between the parents of all of the students and the community, because it seems like if Brother Raashon is saying that he's asked for a meeting with the parents, and the parents asked the principal for a meeting with the parents to find out what's going on, and he haven't been able to get that. Well, it would seem then to me that what is the issue if that seems to be a proper protocol when there's an issue between children, to call in their parents or the adults in the room and have them have a conversation, and then bring their children in and have a conversation.
I would add to that in this way, right? Racism may be the principal contradiction, but you also raise in the question of the specter of sexual violence being raised. Now, thankfully, it hasn't happened, but you can't turn your back on something like that. Also, underneath that also is the LGBTQ rights question. All of those specters of discrimination are in the mix. And Akela's father was absolutely correct in my modest judgment to go to that principal and say, anything happen to any of our kids, you're gonna be held accountable for that.
Right.
And that's the piece I want to address, right? Those kids don't run those schools. Parents should be in the conversation, but parents don't run the schools. The administrators do.
That's
right?
right.
And there's some basic policies that come when any student violates certain behavior protocols, and if they're not being enforced, and this kind of culture is being allowed to happen, that's a problem. And somebody's head should roll. They absolutely should roll. I will say this: I didn't realize that they had gotten any press, but the fact that there is now press on that with that Chalkbeat article, that's a black eye on that school. And that can be a potential mobilizing tool to put pressure on the school system to address the leadership of that school.
Yeah, indeed. And you know what I'm saying is that we want to organize with the students, and we want to organize with the parents, right? You know, we want you all to we want to reach out to Miss Davis. We want to reach out to all the students, because the mayor did tell us that, he was going to come down there. And what I suggested is that we ought not wait for the mayor to do it. As a community, now that we are aware of what's going on, we ought to get involved too. And so we want to organize with you all, and not that we want to threaten to go public with anybody, but we do want our community to know that that our children are being discriminated against by Latino children, which is absolutely insane. That black students in a black city could be discriminated against by Latino students. That just doesn't seem real to me. And it would seem to me that even the parents of those kids would want that behavior to stop, and there should be some sort of education to explain about how Black and Latinos, particularly in the city of Newark, have always worked together. So I don't know how we've gotten to this point.
Yeah, that's real. That's a real conversation.
Yeah, right? I mean,
and parents, and some of y'all may know, some of y'all may not know, but once upon a time, that North Ward was a dangerous place for a black person or a brown person to even walk the streets at a certain time of day. And I'm talking about it in my lifetime. But once upon a time, there was a coming together of organizations and struggle in Newark. Committee for a Unified Newark and the Young Lord Party, right? A black organization led by Amiri Baraka, and that Puerto Rican organization led by Felipe Luciano, who united to protect each other from the violence coming from white folks who were doing the discriminating against. All right. So that history is a profound history, right? That needs to be educated to all of our students, So that kind of racism should not ever happen. Or that's what blew the mayor's mind, right? That's right, and it's blowing our minds. And we have the tools, to be able to address that. So we need to see what we can do to move this forward. I want to apologize to the students and the parents, the fact that y'all had to go through this mess at this late date, right? It's terrible. I don't know if anybody's apologized to you or not, but as a matter of principle, I want to apologize to y'all that y'all went through that. And I want y'all to know that you're not alone. When you spoke up, you did nothing wrong, right? When your parents spoke up, they did the right thing. And the fact that you're telling your story and speaking out about it, even those of you who have moved on already, it was important for you to get that down because this has to be addressed. So I want to really shout you out for standing up for what's principle and what's right. Right. And that's the kind of stuff that's going to produce a new generation of leadership for this town that we sorely need.
That's absolutely right. And what I would want to add, for you all who, Ms. Brown, and of course, to these young people, who decided to come forward today, I think what I want to add to that is to say, look, we as a community, we're going to organize with you all, and we're going to reach out to that principal. We're going to ask him to come on the show. We're going to hopefully be able to have a conversation with him as well, because all politics are local is a community forum, and we want everyone to be able to have an opportunity to come here and discuss. But we also want to not forget the history of this city. We had a Black and Latino, Black and Puerto Rican conference at one point in this city.
That's right.
We want to make sure that we haven't lost that much ground where all of a sudden these young children now all of a sudden somehow think that the Black people in this city are less than they are. That's a miscalculation. And there's something that we need to do about that as the adults. And so we need to ask for those meetings as a community. And we want to say that around supporting you all. So we don't want to take the lead on that. That's why I want to be able to reach out to Ms. Davis. I want it to be clear that we want to support you all in terms of making sure, and particularly you, brother Raashon, to make sure that you get that meeting. I mean, a meeting with the parents is paramount, right? That's the responsible thing. I don't need to talk to this child. Let me talk to the parent, because in our community, you know how we feel. Don't talk to my kid. You got a problem? Talk to me.
Exactly.
Right? And let me talk to my kid, and I'll get that straight. I mean, I don't know if that's a cultural thing or what, man. And you also, right, Brother Raashon, when you said you went to the principal, that's what we do as parents. When I drop my kid off with you at 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock, I fully expect for you to be on top of that and know exactly what's going on with my child. So if anything goes wrong, I need to be able to get that report from you. That's what happens in that.
And also to add to that, when she come and let you know what's going on, I need you to head around and protect her, not accuse her after that, and ridicule her and make her feel some type of way. Nah, she just wasn't protected at all, I felt like. So we had to do what we had to do.
Well, listen, we are going to move forward on that. We want to give Ms. Brown, is there anything you want to add to that before we let you all go?
You're muted, Ms. Brown.
And I want. Oh.
Go ahead. You good?
She muted again.
God. Hello.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to say thank you for having us on, and I do think a conversation is something that we should do with the principal. I really do. Even though my son is not there, a conversation still needs to be had.
And Ed, tell me from out of order or not, because you the lawyer in the mix. Parents, as we try and move this conversation, if it does not go the way it's supposed to go, you may want to lawyer up and look at what other options you have to hold these folks accountable. And I mean from the superintendent on down. All right. So just that's something to consider also. I'm absolutely disgusted at what I'm hearing, and I'm terribly sorry that this happened to you, and it has been allowed to go on like that. Totally unacceptable.
And brother Raashon, what I would say to you my brother, um, kudos to you for keeping your head, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm a
Because
father of daughters too. You come up with
yeah,
that word around me, yeah, I might lose it. I
yeah,
might I might do some time for some of that.
yeah. So we want to say kudos to you, man, for keeping your head. Um, in that when someone accuses you for standing up for your daughter, because culturally in our community, we get accused for not standing up for our children and especially not standing up for our daughters, man. And so big up to you, brother, for doing that. But we're gonna try to do as much as we can as all politics are local. We are gonna reach out and give uh, the principal equal time. We understand that Roger Leone is supposed to be on the show next week as well. Is it next week? No, in 2 weeks he's supposed to be on the show. I think on the 20th. But we're going to reach out to the principal, and hopefully, we're going to give him an opportunity to tell his story. But we are going to ask to organize a community meeting and hopefully be able to get some answers. And I don't know if you just saw, one of the original brothers who was a part of this show, Brother Bashir. When he talks about what he's saying here is actually true. That dealing with children of parents who are disconnected from the history of the moment, right? That's the problem.
Our history has to and our curriculum have to be decolonized, right? That's why the Amistad curriculum is so important, right? And with the cities like ours, our history, our Black and Brown unity history, we can take that to a whole another place, and we would have the vision and the maturity to unite around the issue and do what we need to do. This should be
So
this should so be in another place. I
yeah.
apologize to you again, students.
So let me give these young people the final word. Anything you guys want to say that you want people to know before we let you go?
Um,
See,
one more thing is that when we report racist incidents, instead of telling us that they're sorry that we're experiencing this and trying to deal with it, they say things such as, "Oh well, racism is a part of the real world," and saying that we're going to deal with racism no matter what, instead of saying they'll address the students. And whenever race is like brought into things, the principal feels the need to mention like his zip code and how he grew up, but the experience of being a person of color is different between different groups. I'm black and he's Hispanic. We experience two different like experiences with racism, and he tries to always compare like my zip code this and my last name this, and this how I feel. But he can navigate through the world as white, and so it's simply not fair for him to continue to say that racism will be a part of our life when it shouldn't be. When we should come to the school expecting to be safe, and we have to constantly report it, and then nothing's being done. Like there was a student who's supposed to be expelled, and he's still at the school, and they saying, "Oh yeah, we expelled the student," but then why is he here starting in January again if he's expelled?
mhm.
Um,
Um, I know that like this isn't supposed to be our high school experience, and that it's not something that we should have to experience at all. Due to changing schools and going to a better school where they genuinely care about us, because it's not just a lack of care. Well, it's not just it's racist. It's a lack of care. They don't care about the students. They don't care enough to prep us for college. They don't care enough to teach us correctly. They don't care about us at all. And it's
Mm.
not. It's a lack of wanting to teach or wanting to do your job. Oh, and thank you for having me.
Now, no, listen, no, it's all right. This probably should have happened a while back, and another conversation that us adults have to have. Let me ask you, just to try and to send you away with with a healthy feeling about yourselves and how you carried on. I'm proud that y'all have kept yourselves together, right? One of the things, this is a hip hop talk show, right? So one of the things that we do is that we ask folks, you know, not just what you're listening to, but who have you relied on in hip hop culture, if you have, that has helped you keep your heads together in the face of all this mess y'all gone through.
Jay-Z
This is a resilience question. And parents, y'all are young parents, y'all could answer too.
You know, I'm with Haynes.
Jay-Z 444.
Mm.
The whole album.
Okay.
But you know the song.
That's what keeping okay. Yeah.
All right, who get you going?
Okay. But I do want to say one more thing before we do go, because I want everybody to join in on Wednesday, the dad and daughter collaboration. That's that I do with my daughters. And so I do want everybody up here that's watching, that's looking, join in on Wednesday, the dad and daughter collaboration.
And why is daughter laughing? That's what dads are supposed to do.
They said I shouldn't have did it, but why not? Don't promote us. That's what we do. On Wednesdays, dad and daughter collaboration. We cook on Wednesdays, y'all. So come join us and watch us, and we just have fun. And
where's that gonna be at? Dads and daughters collaboration. What time? What place?
It's on. We got it on Instagram and on TikTok, and we creating a YouTube page for it. So we having our first one. And if you don't know Light and Soul Eatery, that's up there with the sister Risey by 4th Avenue. So we gonna be up there. She letting us use her kitchen. Me and my daughters, we going there cooking. We gonna have some little taste testers. So it's first come, whoever in there come get the taste test. We doing it. Dad and daughter collaborations, and we just showing the love.
Well, tell Don to put it in the chat, and we'll post it. All right.
Daughter, wish you have put it in the chat.
Yeah, and we'll post it.
Just text it to me. I'll get it. I'll see till that gets out.
And thanks for having us.
Yeah,
that's all right. That's all right. Miss Brown, you too. You have any last words? You muted. You muted, ma'am.
Uh-oh.
She keeps muting herself. There you go. There you go, Miss Brown. Come on.
Oh, I just want to say good night.
Okay. All right. We will. This discussion will continue for sure.
All right. Thank you all very much. All right. Yeah, man. Listen, Zay.
You believe this?
No, I don't. And I think that's why I think we definitely are going to have to do something about that. You know what I mean? Yeah, I see Don put it in the chat.
Yeah.
So, you know, we got to do something about it, Zaid. And that's why I said to the man, I don't think that we should wait for him to do it. You know what I mean? I think that we ought to reach out for the principal down there, and I want to extend that invitation to him, you know, to come on. I know Roger's going to be on the 20th, but I would love to be able to extend an invitation to him to come on and see if we can have a conversation with him.
Yeah, and what's most important about all of this is twofold. One, that there hasn't been any violence emerge from this yet.
Yeah, that's right.
With the kind of nonchalance that's happening with letting this stuff go, it could easily slide into that. Yeah. Somebody can get hurt, and we can find ourselves in an irreparable space with somebody who gets hurt and somebody who should have been checked who does the hurt, right? So this you know, we should be in such a better place.
But what's frustrating to me though, Zaid, is why are they creating this energy between blacks and Latinos in Newark? I don't understand that, and I agree with Bashir that it is the lack of knowledge on the adults problem on the adults of these children. But why would these adults want their children to be living that kind of life in a city that is predominantly black and run by black elected officials? I don't understand that.
I don't either.
And that's why I'm saying there needs to be a meeting excuse me, with these parents.
There's somebody who I love dearly, and we're not in touch with each other right now, and I wish we were. That has an article. She is from Panama, right? And she is an Afro-Panamanian, right, and a very serious Pan-Africanist. But she created an organization to address how racial stuff pops up within a Latin context, meaning that within the Latin community, either they do not discuss the question of race, and when it comes up, they in their colonized consciousness lean on whiteness, right? And so there's a way, in my modest judgment, and we don't have to go far to address that in terms of curriculum and raising teacher and parent consciousness in Newark, because we have the kind of decolonized history and struggle that speaks squarely to that, right? And if that were a part of the curriculum and the that runs through all of Newark schools, right, we would definitely be in another place. We'd be talking about and it's something we need to talk about, right? A re-examining of the Black and Puerto Rican Convention, right? As a necessity to keep from losing the town to gentrification. The gentrifiers don't give a damn about none of our kids, whether they speak Spanish or English or French or Creole or Portuguese. They want all us out the way. See? So the question of the value of a united front for our collective community well-being is as important as ever, and the need to decolonize this educational question is hugely a central part of that piece that needs to take place.
Indeed, and and I don't think that folks are clear that it was a Black man named Sharp James that put the first Black Latino Puerto Rican on the council, right? And again, when you talk about the history, Zaid, I think that has to be taught to these young people, right? Somebody's got to, but again, remember, that's what the mayor was talking to. He was talking to the educators down at that school, not having the kind of background and the kind of cultural background to be able to diffuse what's really happening down there. Right. And that's part of the problem. And see, again, Zaid, that's why I was saying that you remember back in the day we had African Echoes, and you had all those different spots where you could go and there would be cultural meetings and so forth. And I think we need
to organize half of them.
Huh?
I organized half of them.
Yeah, and I think that we should reach out for Felipe Luciano, right? And I think we should invite him, right? We should try and organize a some sort of assembly and invite him to come speak and and I may bring this up when we get Roger on next week in 2 weeks to do assembly and have them parents be mandatory for them to come and have him give a lecture on the history of Blacks and Latinos, right? So that not only can these kids hear it, but more importantly, like Bashir pointed out, that these parents can hear it, right? Because there's a disconnect, right? Mm-hmm. These kids are not getting this in a vacuum; they're getting this from somewhere, Zaid, right? Yeah. And because it's not being stopped, that behavior is being promoted, right?
And stuff can get blurred when it's not being checked.
Absolutely,
somebody wind up doing something stupid and somebody get hurt, and we can't allow that.
And as you said, I mean, thank God that up until this point, nothing has happened, and because that's why I was saying to the father, he could have took that a whole nother way, right? At that point, if you're not going to look out for my daughter, I could take that in a whole another direction. And I think that we need to get to it, man. And so I'm gonna make it my business to reach out to the principal and see if we can get him on and have a conversation with him.
I have another comment. Joanna Fernandez, who's one of our top spokespersons for Mumia Abu Jamal. She's got a book out on the young lord. I haven't gotten Johanna's book yet, but she could be another resource and whatnot. And there's so many places to go with that. The other person that I was trying to mention was Yvette Modestin. Yvette's not in the area, but she's got an organization that tries to address that whole thing on the Latin side. Because she's like Felipe, like Joanna. Joanna's Dominican, right? See, there are a number of levels to this. The Dominicans have a different outlook than Puerto Ricans, and there are a lot of levels to this stuff, right? Johanna's a Dominican proud Black woman, Afro locked and all and whatnot. But they've got a serious colorism issue that is particularly violent on the island towards any Dominicans that have any Haitian in their background. Because remember, the Dominican Republic was once one island that was all Haiti.
Right.
See, and so there are a number of layers to this, and folks who lean on whiteness broke away from Haiti to create the Dominican Republic, right? So there's been this long anti-Black hostility within a Latin context, from those cultures. So there's a lot in that. There's a lot in there. But whatever needs to be done, those conversations need to happen. The all those levels of bad behavior need to be unpacked and addressed. And folks need to be educated out of their racism, no matter how it shows up.
Absolutely. And I just can't believe it's gotten this far though. Right?
Mind blowing.
I can't believe that.
Mind blowing.
I mean, I can't believe that it's gotten to the point where Black students are being harassed so bad that they literally are being pushed out of their own school
and told that that's what they should be, and being told by authorities that's what they should do.
Yeah, I mean, this is the arrogance.
Not that their rights are going to be protected,
right?
Not that policy is going to be followed,
right?
But you probably should go.
And we're not talking about white people doing this, right? We're talking about people, right, who have suffered in the same way that Black folks have suffered in this country, and now they are promoting racism on our children. Come on, man. Come on. That's absolutely not acceptable, brother. And I think that at the end of the day, these adults ought to be held accountable for that.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Now I got a text from my daughter that she's running late, right? Unfortunately for all we were going to discuss, there was a shooting. There was a shooting that she's addressing, right?
So there was a shooting that took place in Newark tonight.
Apparently just recently, and she's
Okay.
a part of addressing the fallout of that, and that's what they do. So we may have a short discussion or short-ended discussion on an important study that the city released last week, coming into the new year, that for all of the challenges that we still have with violence on our streets. The homicide rate has come down to a 60-year low, right?
Right.
And important to that is all the work that so many of us have done in trying to address the violence on the ground, and dealing with those of our kids who on the edge that are out there doing that, or kids who are out there on the edge being susceptible to that, right? Our street team, our street academy, right? All those organizations that came through what the mighty Newark Anti-Violence Coalition in its heyday was calling for those years ago. The fact that we have built out that ecosystem, the language that they like to use, to address some of these problems, the numbers are going the right way. It's still a problem because she's not here to be with us right now because something happened, right? And whenever it happens, it's always jarring to the entire neighborhood when something like that happens, and that's how trauma unfolds, unfortunately. So we still have work to do, but we're operating with more tools than we've had before. We need to take care of those tools, and we need to use those tools. And folks who are not aware of the tools need to become aware, and folks looking to use the tools need to get trained. So that's I look forward to us having that conversation with her and anyone else who wants to join in with that conversation. So we may have a few minutes to talk about some things until either she gets on or until we segue to our congressman coming on. And he's coming on, as we said earlier at the top of the show, at an incredible time. Not only is this the second anniversary of January 6th and that incredible expression of madness that took place on that day 2 years ago, but some of those folks wedded to the ideology that drove that crazy behavior are now obstructing Congress, right? And obstructing even within their own ranks. So
Right.
folks always talk about the radical left and woke ideology. Folks trying to get medical care for everybody ain't hurting nobody, right?
Right.
But these crazy folks, want to hurt people over their rights to choose over their body. These folks want the police to hurt people at the border, want to hurt people that look like us in our cars and in our neighborhood, right? They want to hurt people to uphold white supremacy and their ideology, right? So the battle against the dangers of the racist and fascist right is still an ongoing battle that we need to be clear about. So I'm looking forward to our first Payne report of the year that is 2023.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that is that until they get a speaker, none of them
They can't do anything.
right. So I mean, for the first week of them being back, whatever is going on in their district, none of these Congress people are able to get anything done. I also understand that nobody gets paid either.
That is absolutely
There are
crazy.
no paychecks that are being given, right? Because none of that can get done until there's a new speaker. So
Absolutely crazy.
yeah. So I mean, it's absolutely incredible. And what do you think about that congressman from Queens, the guy who came in and
Be investigated to the fullest.
yeah,
One of the things that's important about being in Congress on either level is that you have access to very sensitive information, right? Of a national security kind, right? And somebody, especially in the wake of January 6th, right? Somebody so easily disposed to being untruthful
mhm,
and unprincipled about what is true and what is legal, can do some very destructive things, some very harmful things, and put a lot of people at risk by mishandling or abusing certain kinds of information. And if he has done anything that has crossed the line legally, he need to be made gone.
yeah.
He need to
but
be made gone.
but Zaid, I don't know anybody who could apply for a job, right? And your entire resume is a lie.
The entire one.
The entire resume is a lie. And then you get you're scheduled when there's a new speaker to be sworn in to be a Congress member, that you're going to get certain kind of clearances in this
That's what I'm
country
talking about.
that
That is
you're a bona fide liar.
that is precisely what I'm talking about.
I mean, Zaid, you couldn't get a teaching job like that, right? There's no way in hell you could go and pass the teacher's exam and then pass the background check if everything about you was a lie. you're going to go and you're going to teach English or teach math or teach science, and you say you got a degree from Baruch College and a master's, and then we find out that you didn't go to either one of the schools, and in fact, you don't even have a degree at all.
He lied. The question is, what did he not lie about?
Yeah.
What did he not lie about?
And someone asked him the question. They said, "Is your name even the name you're telling people?" Right? I mean, but I'm saying, Zaid, how could that even happen? And if we're talking about security, the security of this country, how could that be allowed to happen?
It shouldn't be. It absolutely shouldn't be.
I mean,
right? And that's
this man could be a terrorist for all we know.
Well, his terrorist cousins are holding up the government.
Right. He get hold of certain secrets. He get access to certain clearances. Right. I mean, that just shows you how
you have another January 6th on another day.
Right. I mean, this just shows you how dysfunctional this country is. That the government is that fragile that somebody could join the United States Congress on a complete lie as to who they are. So what that says to me, Zaid, is you can write your resume to say anything you want and then run for office. Even if people check it, it don't matter. You can just simply say, I just colored the truth a little bit.
Yeah, well, I say our hair's too nappy to get away with that. See?
Right, and again, Zaid, that's the level of racism in this country. No black person would be allowed to do that and get away with it. No black person.
I think if I were, the head of the ethics committee, I think one of the first things I would ask for about this guy is his tax returns. Where's if he lied about some of everything else, how's he handling his money? And there are some questions about some of his campaign money that are starting to be raised, right? Yeah. So because he's already crossed the line in terms of representation. Right. But if he has actually done some other things, he actually needs to be made gone. And there need to be a special election to put somebody else in that seat.
Well, you're right. They always say follow the money, right? If you want to follow what how people are really living their lives, because I want to know, where did he get $700,000 from to loan his campaign, particularly if this guy said he was making $55,000 a year. Where do you get $700,000 from?
He probably got it from Trump. He probably got it from Trump because Trump ain't paying no taxes. See,
yeah. but I'm saying,
probably spreading it around.
But Zaid, from a security perspective, right?
Oh my God!
I mean, that would say, well, who bankrolled you, right?
Exactly.
To get in Congress. So if you got $700,000, how do we know that wasn't an enemy of this country who gave you that money? How do we know that? And he's sitting in Congress. I mean, this guy could be walking in there as a bomb.
And he'd go further than that, to come back to the original space that we're in, right, with this whole thing. Who are these 20 folks blocking this vote? What was their level of involvement or complicity in January 6th, if there was? Because there were some congresspersons that were that did share some intel with some of those folks who raided Congress's halls, right? Right. That study that and it's profound that it was led by a black man, right, from Mississippi. I wish we could get hold of Congressman Thompson. I'd love to get him on here, right? And a white woman from Wyoming, a daughter of the highest privilege, who broke ranks with the backward sector of her party, right? As a matter of principle, how that came together. The only real challenge with that study is that it probably should have come together sooner in the year, because it didn't give the Congress time enough to push that to the Justice Department and allow something to play out in time for the new Congress to come in that includes folks who should have been disciplined. So so there's so much to unpack. It's so much to unpack, but I was very proud of that brother for how he conducted himself in the management of that investigation. And that was a profound statement. I don't know if you can remember this, Ed, but back in the Nixon days, our sister from Texas, Barbara Jordan, was in the Congress at the time, and she was raising all the hard questions about accountability of Nixon and his stuff in a way that is comparable to what Benny Thompson did. But Benny's actually took point. Thompson took point for the investigation. That's a profound thing. This a generation and a half ago, that wouldn't have been possible because of how violent and how backwards and how limited access we had to the ballot. So what a time we're living in, good brother. What a time we're living in. What a time we are living in. What a time we are living in.
Yeah, man. It's and that's why I'm saying, Zaid, on the other level, we look at one of the conversations you and I was having a moment ago, we was talking about before we came in the air about football, right? About the young brother, who had went into cardiac arrest on the field. And what people were talking about was the fact that the majority of them football players that play football, they don't get paid unless they literally go out there and risk their life with every hit, right? With every down. And you got to be in the league at least 3 years, Zaid, right? At least 3 years before you even qualify for health care, before you qualify for a pension, a disability, right? So imagine, you
That
risking.
is crazy.
I mean, I heard what's the brother that's on ABC, the former football player on Good Morning America?
He was on the Giants.
Michael Strahan.
Yeah.
I heard him say on Good Morning America, he said he was actually when he thought about it, he said, I'm amazed that I survived playing football the way he did, right, for 17 years.
Yeah, I used to get him at the airport.
Yeah.
My airport days.
I
Yeah,
mean,
that's I'm gonna tell you, the irony is that I haven't watched a football game since Colin Kaepernick took that knee for me on August 14th, 2016. That happened to be my birthday, right? So I'm saying for me, I kid about that. And I've been trying to track this young brother down to salute him, right? I would love to bring him to Newark. But what should have happened, and you're identifying something else that goes along with that, is that union, the NFL Players Association, should have stood with him when he made that statement, or at least defended his right to make that without being ostracized, and should have raised the fact that this sport that is now majority black in its workers or in its players is still majority white in ownership and in management. And the time has come to address that. Right? That's what should have happened. And in that, what you're talking about, as soon as somebody signs a contract, there should be some base guaranteed income and some benefit support automatically.
But it's not
crazy.
It's not, Zaid. And that's the thing. There's no basic health care, right? There's no basic disability plan. There's no basic pension, right?
You and I are ex-fighters.
Yeah.
Boxing has been called the red light of sport because we lacked that for so long.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
But I've never heard this associated with football like that, with all the money that's being made from that sport. That is absolutely that's maddening.
Yeah, they keep that quiet, Zaid, right? They keep that quiet because what you see on television, Monday night football, Sunday football, right? You see all these cats, who are running up and down the field, but they're getting paid per game, and they're not millionaires, right?
No,
No, they're
no.
not millionaires, and so the one who's making the most money and getting the most protection is the quarterback, right? The rest of them cats, them linemen and all of them cats, nah. And if they don't go out to play, they don't get paid. And then if they get hurt, right? Remember, they may get cut, and you get cut, you unemployed.
Yeah,
And what happens if somebody else doesn't pick you up,
yeah, yeah.
right? So now what do, right? And so, that's why I was talking about the number of these football players who are famous. A lot of these cats are famous, but like this brother was saying on the CD, I'm on this piece I'm gonna send you. What he said is the majority of them brothers are broke and they sick, right? So imagine that you broke, you got head trauma, right?
Mhm.
You got physical problems with your heart now, and you don't even have the money, right? And the NFL
Take
is
care of
not
yourself.
willing to pay, right, not willing to pay your medical bills, right? So you got to think about that, and thank God, for the young brother Demar, that one is that God saw fit to answer the prayers of all of us who were praying for him, right? But he's 24 years
24
old,
years old,
right?
right? And our continued prayers to him and his family,
Yeah,
because his life will be forever changed, even
yeah,
though he has survived that. That's a hell of a.
right.
That's a you can't. That's as bad as getting shot in the damn chest.
He may never play football again, right?
Exactly,
He may
exactly.
never play football again.
And if he didn't get that window, if he didn't make that window of money that you're talking about, it's going to be tough for him.
He didn't. I mean,
You know,
he made $750,000 last year, right? That's it. That's the money he made. He got paid $750,000 a year. He doesn't have. He didn't have. I mean, this is in that piece I'm gonna send you. They revealed that, right? They said he had already made his paycheck, right? He had already gotten that, but he didn't have disability. He didn't have medical care, right?
that should be
Obviously,
automatic.
right. Obviously, and I believe that's one of the reasons why so many people donated, right, to his
GoFundMe. I was wondering about. I'm like, why was that necessary? In the
right.
back of my mind, I didn't question
Yeah,
it because it was obviously some need, right? But I'm
yeah.
like, damn.
Because most people, and I'm sure all those famous folks and football players and football teams that donated, they realized that he probably would never, if he didn't wake up, but if he woke up, they probably said this boy is going to need medical care for the rest of his life, right? Because nobody knows, what's going to happen. And the fact is that he had a cardiac arrest at 24, and from the impact, and they don't really know what it is. They still investigating it,
Right, right,
right?
right.
But
Because it just did. But what was now? I of course I didn't see it.
right,
And to the media's credit, they didn't run the tape like in some of these things. They run them over and over again and traumatize people over and
right,
re-traumatize people in the process. But what I'm hearing is that there was nothing exceptional about the contact in the last play that he was in, or in any of the plays that he was in, that because it was early in the game. It was in
right,
the first quarter still,
right.
right?
And it just started.
So something, there may have been something dormant going on with him that had not been detected, and that,
Right.
that has happened with some folks, uh, also. But either way, his life will be forever ever changed, and it's nothing but the grace of the Creator and the ancestors that he's still here. There's a
That's right.
brother I want to reach out to, and I don't know him personally, but he wrote a very important book a few years ago. You'll remember it, $40 Million Slaves.
Right.
William Roden. I would love to get his take on that. Right. So there's a lot of places for us to go in these cutting edge issues that we're talking about. While we're waiting, too, I want to give also a modest report, if I may. We had a heavy show last week, and I had some folks on from Inglewood. I had Bernard Placide Jr.'s mother on, along with her attorney, Eric Kleiner, sharp lawyer, not afraid to take on the police and gangsterism in Jersey politics. And we paid their city council a visit.
How did that go?
Very busy for me, man. We paid their city council a visit, about 50, 60 people deep, right? And Demo got the pop signs, Justice Bernard Placide Jr. all up in the place and whatnot, the cameras in there and whatnot. And we wound up, we waited patiently for them to get their little agenda off and all like that. And then, the community had to be heard. And it was very telling, in addition to the organizations being involved and Bernard's mother. I'm very proud of Marlene, his mother. And then she's a young mother too, because Bernard's only 22. She's a young mother. She's a young woman, right? Young Haitian, and Haitian immigrant, looking for the American dream and walks smack into the American nightmare. Calls the police for help, right? His son's in a mental health crisis, right? And she, of everybody in the house, basically had it contained. She really just was looking for transport to the hospital, right? While the boy is wreathing from being in the throes of being tased, this other officer pulls out a gun and pops it under the boy's rib and blows him away, and then runs from the scene. And they were going to promote her. They weren't going to wait on the Attorney General's investigation of the shooting, as the new independent prosecutor's law says should happen, thanks to our daughter, Assemblywoman Brittany Timberlake, fighting for that bill back in 2018. And she was just a young buck going into the assembly. And we have like only 2 or 3 people who get down like that among Black elected officials in the legislature. I'm going to say that plainly, right? But we had, so on the strength of all of that, this community and this mother had to raise all this hell in this beautiful, well-manicured suburban town,
right,
on the depth of their racism. And so what happened is that not only did folks lay out the demands, lay out what was wrong with the case, lay out condemning, trying to promote this dangerous racist cop, right? But they were laying out story after story of how racism is playing out with the police in the community, within the police department. There's a serious divide within that police department along racial lines. And there's been an abuse of the use of the police unions, to make sure that, that the white supremacy within the police department is maintained. And anybody trying to bring in any kind of change, be they Black or white, you get isolated or put out. Grandmothers talking about having to put themselves between the police and their sons and their grandchildren, all these kind of stories. And and I'm like, I said, they made that city council listen to a problem that they have been trying to sweep under the rug for what looks like quite a long time. And this young man getting killed is a revelation, right? Not an incident, but a revelation of a long-standing problem that certainly needed some serious attention. And the whole irony of the thing is that when the kid got killed, it was right on the wings of MSNBC doing that 4-part documentary, Model America, on Teaneck, because Teaneck and Inglewood are like, it's like St. Paul and Minneapolis. They're right on top of each other. They kind of go together. But clearly, those communities have learned nothing about what happened to Philip Pennell 30 years ago. In fact, Philip's sister, Tasha, I'm very proud of her. We've had her on, right? Tasha spoke, right? Tasha had an encounter with the police officer earlier on, right? She got through it, but she raised some misgivings about how aggressive she was to her in a traffic stop. And ironically, the traffic stop was Tasha going to her father's funeral. I raise all that to say is that, one of the untold stories of police violence is how it creates a ripple of trauma that rips through the survivor's family, right?
Right.
How did the trauma of that kid getting shot in the back by a police officer at 16 years old, what did that do to that man's health? That's a serious question that needs to be raised, right? I just did a blog looking at how that has definitely played out in some of the other cases that I worked on. I'm concerned about this young queen out in the Bronx who was the former wife of Asani Best. She's going through some serious pain management challenges that are defying diagnosis, right? And the state cleared the cop that killed him, and he too was in a mental health crisis, and that was wrongly handled in my modest judgment. I remember Earl Faison, not just losing him, but his fiance died a few years after he got killed, right? Young, Erica Garner, the 27-year-old daughter of Eric Garner, right? Dies from, goes into cardiac arrest, has a cardiac incident. 27 years old, raising the volume for justice for her father.
I remember that.
27. She went into cardiac arrest on the day before Christmas in 17 and went out of here right before New Year's. So that's one of the untold stories about police brutality and racialized police violence that we also need to be talking about. But I was very proud at how folks mobilized and basically took over that meeting, and then they're back and forth regular, trying to shape up their demands to further, push for justice for that young man and some change in that community. And I'm going to have them talk to our statewide coalition on police brutality, New Jersey Communities for Accountable Policing, in our first meeting next Monday. So I'm looking forward to that. So I wanted to share that out. It was a very profound session. Should also share out that we spent January 1st, the anniversary of Carl Dorsey's killing, doing a press conference / rally at the Attorney General's office, even though it was a holiday, but it was no holiday for his 4 children. It's no holiday for his father. There's no holiday for his sisters. They're all still struggling tremendously with his loss. And after 2 years, here's a case where a young man just happened to be in the wrong place the wrong time, is killed on videotape by a cop who had a track record of not being a good cop, right? And they received no communication whatsoever. So one of the things that needs to be talked about as we try and help that family is, what can we do to strengthen or to create some transparency dimensions to the independent prosecutor's law, right? Meaning that there should be some public reporting dimensions on how these cases are investigated and how they come to conclusions to indict or not to indict, right? So that can, and that's going to be key. And see, that's all about trying to restore or establish some basic police and community trust, right? And for Black and brown folks, there's been next to no trust because we've been so horribly treated. And the track record of prosecuting and investigating police officers doing that kind of stuff has been terrible, right? So, that's the work is busy, the work is difficult, the lift is heavy, but the tasks are clear. So I thought it was important to share that out to you, since we have these extra few minutes. And of course, we can have any of them back on when they need to come back on.
Let me ask you a question, Zaid. How effective do you think, the folks who showed up at the city council were in blocking that officer from being promoted?
Well, what happened is that before we even got to the city council meeting, there was so much pressure that was happening. People calling the city council, calling the mayor, calling the press and whatnot. They were trying to figure out how they were going to do it or not do it without looking any worse than they were already looking, right? So the first thing that they said, and this is beforehand, once the word got out and we started raising hell, and said, oh, this is a lateral move. We want to take advantage of her being multilingual, all right? And we need somebody in the detectives department to do that. We said, oh, hell no, don't insult our intelligence. And that's how that stuff plays out in how gangsterism plays out in Jersey politics. That's very Jersey, right? And he said, hell no, don't insult us. She's getting an increase in pay, an increase in authority, right? Increased access to people's sensitive information. That's a promotion, and that we need to be talking about why she's still on the force. That's right. The question, right? So right now things are kind of up in the air, but the demands, folks are making demands that she should be gone, or at the very least, they should the leadership of the town should insist on the respect for the law and letting that state investigation to properly play out, right? So that's the cutting edge of where that particular case is and where that issue is. But what was revealed by a range of folks, by community folks, former police officers, the depth of racism that's playing out in that town is it's a lot. It's a lot, but it sounds like Jersey in the mid-60s.
Was she in the building?
Huh?
Was she in the building?
Was she what?
Was she in the building? Was that cop in the building? Was she there?
No. They got her under wraps.
Okay.
They got her under wraps. Madam Donna just popped it. She come in waving and smiling. What you got for us, Queen?
Where we at? It's just the beginning of a new year. We starting off with a hustle and a bustle. What's going on?
Well, we actually have a few minutes. Keisha just texted me. She's not going to be able to come on because of the demands of what's happening with this shooting that they're trying to address. So she sends her apologies. We'll have to bring her back on.
She's doing her work, and she says her regrets. Yeah. We had a shooting in Newark. Tonight.
Yeah, just shortly before we were getting ready to go on. So that's part of what she does. She's one of the lead responders to that.
No, I know that, but I'm just like, oh.
Yeah.
Well, no, I know we were talking to some former NFL players, but due to their schedules, they'll be with us next week. But we have heard continued positive news with the young man. He's writing notes and he wants to know who won the game. And everybody's like, you won the game. You won the game of life. So hopefully by next week, we'll be hearing verbal thing. We'll have some verbal messages that he's able to say. But anybody who had the opportunity to witness that football game, and it's funny because something about our bodies and this, and Keesha always talks about trauma, but how our bodies protect itself. And sometimes when we're watching things, we don't believe that we're watching what we're watching. And we have to almost go back and, did I just see that? And I can remember we'll almost talk ourselves out of saying that we see what we thought we saw. So to see the NFL and their and Ed, this is right up your alley, but their production, their PR team was able to pull all that footage down. So I don't think anybody's able to even find footage unless you have access to some sites that other people don't, of actually what happened. They pulled all that footage down, which is a good thing.
Wow. Well, no,
so not re-traumatizing the public. I actually mentioned that before you came on. I hear you on that.
Mm-hmm. What were you gonna say, Ed? I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, on one level, it may be that they have some concerns over how people are going to look at the NFL, right? So I don't know if it's so much the concern for
We
him,
need to hear that too.
right? So I think that might be, what folks are doing, because, folks are talking about, the type of hits, the equipment, right? How do they make football safer? Because they don't know exactly what type of hit it was. So, all of those things I'm sure coming into play, because all of it at some point could have some sort of, one legal ramifications, and then on the other end, it could also have some financial ramifications, right? So, all of that, you don't want that information to be out there in the wrong hands. So I'm sure that they've thought about, well, if we can pull that down, let's pull it down. I don't think that they're trying to protect DeMar in terms of him being able to see it. I really don't think that that's the case, right? You got to remember, these people got their
Trying to
own.
limit some liability.
Yeah, absolutely. And remember, Zaid, one of the things we were talking about, Donna, before you came on, I was talking. There's a brother out there who's a former football player that put he put a piece out there that talked about how much money them regular football players who take those kind of hits, for the first 3 years. He said the majority of them brothers don't make it. The majority of them brothers are broke. The majority of them brothers are sick, right? And they all, he was talking about the hundreds and hundreds of lawsuits that are against the NFL by poor black men. Now, we ain't talking about that. All we talk about is the superstar NFL players who made it, the Michael Strahans of the world, right? But what about all those other brothers who are poor that we don't know nothing about, who actually played with Michael Strahan, who actually took hits from Michael Strahan? He said there are brothers out there who can't see. There are brothers out there who can't even remember their name. There are brothers out there who walk, and when they walk, they shaking. This is former NFL players. And he says some of the names you all may even remember. And he said,
Donna, you got a labor background. I would love to hear your thoughts
Well,
on the NFL Players Association and where they're at.
And actually, next week we have invest with Bobby Brown. He represents players, so we'll hear directly from him. And it's good that we put him and hopefully we'll be able to get Tahir back on, and they'll be able to talk firsthand. Bobby can talk from being a player and going into representing players, and he's an attorney as well. So his conversation, and then Tahir, he has his nonprofit, and he was a player as well for recently. And I think Tahir, Bobby played earlier, but Tahir probably got to see, because there has been some changes since that movie Concussion came out. There were some changes from that, and if you were sitting in the players' box listening to people who were very frustrated with all of those changes. And I'm sorry, in the fan box, people were very frustrated with the changes that the NFL made around safety. But I have had the privilege to see contracts with police and fire. And while it's very different, here's the similarity to it. Most time a police or fireman, they sign up for 25 years. But what happens when they come out and they go on to that first incident, and that incident represents them not coming home? And how does the contract look for them? Every time they don't get, it depends how things played out. If they get workman's, their the pension and all of that. And I think one of the situations we did see was the EMT. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but the football players for the first 3 years, Donna, they don't get medical care. If they get hurt playing a football game, they get covered, right? But they don't have regular medical coverage, right? They don't have disability coverage for the first 3 years. And you don't become vested in the NFL, meaning you don't get a pension until you're in the league for a certain number of years, right? But you risk your life on every hit. That's what right. That's what DeMar showed us. That young boy gets hit like that. that showed us that in the split moment, right, you could die on the football field.
That's right.
He literally,
That's right.
what happened to that brother? We're not
And
saying
he did it twice.
that.
They had to resuscitate him twice.
Right. We're not saying it that way. We're saying it the nice way, cardiac arrest. But what really happened is he dropped dead. That's what really
That's right. They revived him.
right.
They revived him once on the field and once at the
It
hospital.
looked like a
Yes.
normal hit, right? He literally dropped dead. And had not that person who was there knew how to give him the proper CPR to shock him back to life, right? He would have died right there on the football field.
And
the truth is, Donna, is that every one of them brothers, the reason they didn't go back out to play football is because they were scared as hell.
right.
That scared them.
Yeah. And the visual of that
is
to
trauma.
see.
That is
Ooh.
trauma, and the trauma-informed response was to halt that whole activity right there.
And especially if you know, right, you don't have medical care,
Support to
especially
take care
if
of
you know
yourself. If
right.
something else happens, right.
Especially if you know that you're getting paid per game, and especially if you know you don't have any retirement benefits, all of that, and you playing football, trying to get a regular job on the NFL, I mean, that scared the hell out of you. You're like, whoa, I could be dead.
And I think even Tahir has spoke a little bit about the finances. And I think one of the things with Tahir, it has inspired him to come back and teach financial literacy. And he was he does financial literacy in the community. And I want to say, I remember him saying he lives way below his means, and and that's the lesson that he took away from it. So I can't wait till we hear directly from them. And you're right, that one hit. And do we know how long DeMar has been on in the NFL?
He's in his third year.
This is his third year.
He was just 24. When he's there, I'm saying was. I want to be careful with that.
So I can't. Let's just have our conversation, and I know Bobby is confirmed for 6 p.m. next Friday, and hopefully Tahir will be with us as well, so we can hear directly from the player, the a person that represents, and he's also an attorney. So I can't wait to hear. He's an agent and an attorney, yes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a former player, yes.
Yeah, and so here's a guy who knows, and that's good, because these are the guys who are negotiating these contracts, right?
Exactly.
They know exactly what these players are making. They know what they're trying to get them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But one injury, right, literally could ruin your contract, right? One injury could cause you not to get picked up by another team because they may not want to take that risk. So you're not signing a contract right off the bat for millions of dollars. Even if it's millions of dollars, you're getting paid per game.
And it was interesting. I was talking to a basketball player about a Showtime special that came on about Lenny Cook. And Lenny Cook was a contemporary of LeBron James and Carmelo. But Lenny Cook didn't make it, he didn't make it all the way to the pros. But in the Showtime special, it highlighted how Lenny was probably better than LeBron. But one of the things he did not have was discipline. But he also had a family leaning on him, and just the challenges. And in one part of the Showtime special, they go into a room, and the coach is explaining to them that there are 50 of you in here, and out of the 50 in here, only 3 of you will make top dollar in the NBA, and then the rest of y'all will make. And then he gave a number like I want to say 100,000. And he said, but everybody in your family thinks you are making the same amount as the top people in the NFL, NBA. Yep. And then you're going to have to buy mom a house. And he just went down the line. And it was a really interesting financial piece. And I'll try to find it. But like you just said, everybody doesn't make that money.
Right. But again, Donna, that's that's what's true about about football, right? Really about most sports, right? You know,
Mhm.
most athletes are carrying their whole family,
Right.
right? So
About football as labor.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So it's not just one player. You got to remember, you know, when you playing for, you know, most and this is true whatever the career is, right? Most
Mhm.
young black men, right, when they make it, the first thing they want to do is buy their mother a house. First
Right.
thing they do,
Mhm.
right? You know, they risking their
I've
lives.
done
They
the same damn thing about paying some money. That's right.
right.
Mhm.
That's that. I mean, that's just the way it is, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
when them brothers going out there risking their life every day playing football, putting it on the line, that's what it is, you know.
Mhm.
And so, you know, if a dude's trying to write a hit record and all of that, the first piece of money he make, the first thing he gonna do is like, yo, I gotta buy my mom a house. She been carrying me home, right?
Right.
I mean, that's what Eddie Murphy did. You know, first
Mhm.
thing he got, he said he wouldn't bought his mom a house before he bought himself a house, right?
Mhm.
I mean, that's just the way it is. And so when these cats are playing football, all of these brothers are playing sports. That's the you know they risking their life, but they carrying their whole family for some of them. And that's what was happening to remember Michael Vick. Remember when Michael Vick lost
Yeah,
his whole family suffered from that
that's right.
because all of them was working for Michael Vick. All of them
Mhm.
were Vick Incorporated.
Mm.
What's up?
What's up, Rhino?
Peace, peace. What's good, y'all?
And and
Yeah, happy
and
New Year.
Happy New Year. We missed you on the last beginning, and you
Yeah, yeah,
was
yeah.
out doing them things, working.
Just taking care of family and just running around.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. But yeah, yeah, nah. It's good
Did
to see
you get
everybody.
you get the music I sent you? A young lady I met out there, new artist. She was out there, you know, selling her music. She's from Brooklyn, and I sent you, got out the car, and she was like, "Look, this is what," and I, she didn't understand it. I understand, because we talk about it all the time about how artists when they get started and they out there selling their, and she said no, and I said, "You got a CD for me?" She's like, "No, it's a lot more. It's we way beyond CDs and
Yeah,
everything." And
yeah.
that's when she just gave it to me. You could drop it in. I was able to email it to you and everything. So technology is something, but
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
people
I'm still
still,
a
but
CD
the
man,
hustle
my
is
damn
still
self.
real.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hustle is relentless. I mean,
So
sometimes I wonder if people even still using flash drives to promote their stuff. Because I thought about that one time. I thought about throwing my logo on some of those flash drives and
Mm-hmm.
with your logo and your contact number and stuff on the back,
Mm-hmm.
and then you know what I'm saying, you promote your stuff like that. But I don't even know if they're doing that anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, she gave me that I was able to email to you. Then she pointed me to a video that I sent to you as well. So I was like,
I didn't
at
see the
least so
video,
you,
but I heard the music.
yeah,
I gotta play
yeah.
it.
So you could see, so you were able to, and I think her concern is that she was asking, I'm asking you for something, I need you to see something too. Like, whereas a CD, you putting something in their hand.
Right.
Now with the, but it was good.
Yeah.
So here you got some news for us this week.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hip hop wise, man, you know the year kind of started off crazy, man. We got the news on January 1st that we lost Gangsta Boo. We lost Gangsta Boo on the 1st. Gangsta Boo was one of the female rappers who was affiliated with 3-6 Mafia coming out of Memphis, Tennessee. We lost her on the 1st of January, like New Year's Day. We don't. There's still, there's only speculation on what could have happened, but nobody really knows. Nobody has any real facts yet on what it was. Speculation on maybe she OD'd on something. It's New Year's, people partying, whatever. Who knows? But she was only 43 years old. She was 43 years old, man.
she's older than
Her original name is Lola Chantrell Mitchell. And we know her as Gangsta Boo from Memphis, Tennessee, down with 3-6 Mafia. She's been around since like '95. She's been in the rap game, man. So so now she's looked at as an OG. You know what I'm saying? She's looked at as a legend now because it's been some time now since then. So back in '95 was when her and 3-6 Mafia and all of that whole camp first came out and dropped. But yeah, man, losing her was crazy. And then just to get that news, man, you know, on the first day of the year, and you know, and she's another one who was just on, you know, like Takeoff. Gangsta Boo was just on Drink Champs like a couple of weeks prior to all of this. Like we saw Gangsta Boo, you know, her interview on Norris Drink Champs, and you know she was looking good and you know active and doing her thing and you know talking about all the stuff she was currently getting into and things like that. But yeah, and we lost a legend, man. We lost a legend, man. Gangsta Boo, rest in peace, Gangsta Boo.
Was she sick, Rhino?
Nah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, not that I know of, but like I said, there's no information on what her, you know, what caused her death. But right now it's just speculation. You know, everything is is kind of surrounding the whole fact that it was the New Year, and you know, so people were wondering if it was, you know, maybe it was drugs or something. You know, nobody knows though. We don't know yet. You know, nowadays when I realize that nowadays when these things come out, when this news comes out about celebrities and stuff, you don't really get the news on the causes that quick. You know what I'm saying? Unless it's just plain out there like that. Nowadays, the families keep all of that stuff, you know, tucked under, man. They don't want to get that information out there. So it'll probably take us a minute to find out exactly what it was that caused her death. But rest in peace to Gangsta Boo. That was sad.
And as they should, because they have children too, and they got to protect the children. I was reading, like, you know, they just had Twitch's funeral, and the wife Allison was saying that we want people to be sensitive because the younger children don't realize what's going on, but the 14-year-old, you know, getting her, but still getting her, you know, can you imagine having to tell your 14-year-old, you know, and you know, that I know the relationship I had with my father, you know, this daddy's girl is just, that's a bond. Ooh, so yeah, so it's something they should keep close, you know, because you're gonna have to tell them, and you know, in a way that they can be able to understand it and, you know, dissolve it and take it in, because you have to watch out for their welfare as well.
Exactly. So yeah, that was some sad news to start the year off, man, in hip hop, man. You know, but to some good news, another legend, Slick Rick, the great Slick Rick, Ricky Walters, is going to be honored this year by the Grammys. He's getting the Lifetime Achievement Award this year. So that's huge, man. You know, Slick Rick is, when you talk about story rapping and how many people do it to this day, like Slick Rick was the pioneer.
Okay, let's see. Who could do the tribute to Slick Rick? Who would we like to see do a tribute?
Everybody.
Well, who we want to see on that stage?
Especially Nas. Nas could do, definitely. Nas has to be on that stage.
Mm-hmm.
Ghostface has to be on that stage. Who else was like a Slick Rick nut, man? Oh man, I mean, so many. I mean, everybody loves Slick Rick. Even
he did something with Dougie Fresh, right?
Even his own peers who was out at the time when he was out. Just they love Slick Rick. Everybody loves Slick Rick. So
him and Doug did something together.
Well, him and Doug, that's where it started. You know what I mean? Him and Doug got together back in like 83, 84. I even have some a couple of their demo tapes, like when they were just in the studio just playing around. And one of the tapes is the actual demo for the show when they did that of the show. You know, at somebody's, I think it was at Chill Will, the DJ Chill Will's crib. And they would, you know, we're
gonna have to drop some. We're gonna have to drop a line so we can get Mayor Green to introduce him, because it all started out in Martin Stadium when on that 4th of July when they did the show, and everybody came out to that show. It was like, oh, that show was bananas.
Mm-hmm. Who was that down?
Huh?
Stadium is now Paul Robeson Stadium.
Martin Stadium was, like I said, Paul Robeson, Park Avenue.
What year?
Oh, good Lord. So we're going back to Martin. It had to be
you brought it up.
Late. So they were, what year did Dougie Fresh show? That's the song they came out to.
That came out in 85.
So it was probably 85, 86. They did the fireworks show.
85, 85. They put the show out, and on the B side was Lottie Dottie.
Lottie
That's
Dottie.
Lottie Dottie, just Lottie Dottie
That
by
was one of the
itself.
greatest B-sides of all time. My
Man,
God.
let me tell you, but that's what started this phenomenon of the whole storytelling, but not just
Yeah.
storytelling, but there was a lot of people for years. There were a lot of people when they told their stories, they even said it with that Slick Rick cadence, almost with his accent. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how impactful Slick Rick was. It's like you couldn't even tell a story without telling it like Slick Rick. You know what I'm saying? You had to kind of sound like him while you were telling the story. There was so many people. I mean, so many. I can't even go down the list. So many people did that. Like from MC Sirs to Just Ice to to Nas. Everybody's done it. You know what I mean? They use that Slick Rick cadence while telling their stories. He's the greatest storyteller in hip hop. I'm quite sure. That's hands down with everybody. You know what I mean?
And as the show goes, like the stage will go dark, and they'll come on and like, Slick Rick will just start talking, and because you'll be waiting for him and waiting, and then, hey, Congressman, you remember that show when Slick Rick and Dougie Fresh was at Martin Stadium?
You gotta throw that music on for the Congressman. When the Congressman shows up like that, when he pops up like that, gotta have.
And that's exactly, and the whole audience just went bananas.
Needs music for some sanity now. All that madness going down there in DC right now.
Yeah. How y'all doing?
Congressman, do you remember back in '85, Martin Stadium, Slick Rick and Dougie Fresh? Do you remember that, sir?
You know what? I was not there.
You were not there?
I was
not. Oh my good. 85, 86. Whew. Yeah. That's probably that would be a good Mayor Green to come on and tell. Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy New Year, sir.
Same to you. Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Same to you, brother.
Yeah.
Congressman Payne.
Hey, brother.
How are we?
Today is January 6th.
Oh,
January 6th. Take us back to 2 years.
Wait, Rhino wasn't finished. Wait, Rhino had one more thing.
Yeah, I want to just real quick. I wanted to say happy birthday to John Singleton. Rest in peace. That was one of our great black filmmakers of our time, my generation. You know what I'm saying? John Singleton. He put out Boys in the Hood and Higher Learning and so many others. Man, he was just a great dude and a visionary. You know what I'm saying? To be able to take somebody like Ice Cube in his raw form, where he was at that time, and turn him into a star, and not just turn him into a star, but really showcase the lifestyle of what was going on in Compton at that time. Because I know people on my side or over here on the east side, on the East Coast, we didn't know what that life was about. So that was a great vision. That was great, focus on how they were living out there in Compton. You know what I'm saying? And John Singleton just really brought that across.
And like you said about Slick Rick, he was a great storyteller too. John Singleton has told us some of the best stories that there were to be told. And we're still watching them to today. Yeah. And I think he went out with Snowfall.
Yeah. Also, happy born to Peter Guns. I also want to say happy born to my mother-in-law, Peggy Jean Moody. A lot of people don't big up their mother-in-laws, their in-laws and stuff like that. But my mother-in-law, she's not here anymore, but my mother-in-law was a beautiful soul, a beautiful spirit. And I just want to shout her out. Today is her born day. And, before all of this crazy stuff that happened in January 6th at the Capitol, in our family, that January 6th is her day. You know what I'm saying? And it's still her day because we ain't giving no power to that nonsense. You know what I'm saying? So happy born and rest in peace to my mother-in-law, Peggy Jean Moody. Also, the shirt that you see today, me wearing Artifacts Forever with the halo over Chaos and Tame, today makes also 2 months since my brother's been gone. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm wearing this right here. Artifacts Forever, Tame One Forever, Chaos Forever. You know what I'm saying? So that's it for me. But let's talk with the congressman about some of that madness though. Zaire. Oh, where's Zaire go?
Zaire, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm having connection issues. Can y'all hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I was just trying to get Congressman to size up his recall of the importance of today 2 years ago. and I got knocked out of the box, and I'm still having.
January 6th. What time did it start, Congressman? Like 1 o'clock in the afternoon?
Yeah.
So why don't we just get a proper introduction to the Congressman? Welcome to the Payne Report. This is the Payne Report with our brother, beloved brother, the one and only Donald M. Payne, Big Shot Jr. down there trying to get it done, trying to get them to come to their senses, as it were. So
tell you.
Welcome to the Payne Report. What's going on, Congressman? Please tell us what the hell is happening.
Well, we are down in Washington, D.C., attempting to form a government and get it moving so we can do the work of the people. But until we have a Speaker of the House, there's actually no government right now on that side. One third of the federal government is not active. So actually my offices, there's really not much I can do for constituents right now because I'm not actually a member of the federal government at this point in time until we're sworn in by a speaker. And so now we don't have a speaker. So the last few days, I really shouldn't be able to be in my office. I can't contact any federal agencies. And, it's crazy. We've voted 13 times to attempt to choose a speaker. The Democrats have been solid and steadfast behind their support of Hakeem Jeffries. We have not had anyone waver from his support. He's gotten 212 votes each time except once. And that one time was because one of the members of Congress on our side had to have an operation this morning. And don't you know, after he got done with the operation, he came back and voted again. So there was only one vote. On the 12th vote, he got 211. But the brother came back and, the colleague came back and was there for the next one and voted for Hakeem Jeffries. So we've had a solid 212 votes for Hakeem Jeffries to be the speaker. And the other side has just been in disarray.
And Congressman, they interviewed former Speaker Nancy Pelosi, and she said, on a whim, she said what they should do is they said call on the dean, let the dean do the swearing in, and this was like in a 2-minute interview. Have they not considered doing that? No. Mm-hmm. She gave out a plan just like that. I was like, look at Nancy.
Well, that shows she's making progress. But because yesterday when they asked her, she said that's their business. I don't have anything to do with that.
Yeah, but Congressman, that looks to be real crazy down there. You know what I mean? Just in terms of what it is and the fact that that they can't get this done in. And I think I read somewhere where they said this hasn't happened in 100 years.
Right.
1859.
Yeah, just incredible. And it's like, I mean, because if this was happening on the other side, the Republicans would be saying, "Oh, this is un-American. This is not America. There's no way that the Democrats should be able to do this." Well, what's going on? I mean, this is absolutely crazy. Do they hate this guy that much?
There are about 5 of them. There's about 5 of them that do.
But these 5 are apparently able to just hold up the government from getting started.
Yep.
In the Congress.
Yep. You have to have 218 votes.
And these guys have absolutely no shame to their game whatsoever.
At all. By now, I would have relinquished the attempt to become speaker.
Right.
And move out of the way. But McCarthy is like a little kid It's his toy. He worked hard for his toy, and now he wants his toy. And that's all to it.
If he were to move out the way, who do you think it will go to?
Probably, I would say Steve Scalise.
Okay. Scalise, they got shot.
The number 2 guy. But what this Freedom Caucus is saying is they're trying to disrupt the way things have been done. They said that, just to take the next guy in line doesn't serve their purpose, because they don't feel seniority now is valid. So they want chairmanships of committees. They want to move into these positions that normally you have to work for over a period of years to earn. Now they feel that's not good enough because they don't have it. See, they're being selfish. They don't have it, so it's not a good system. And so now they want to buck the system. And I think that's unfortunate.
And then you have the young man down there who gave a total false resume, and he's under investigation as well.
Right. Yeah, George Santos. We're not even sure that's his name now.
What did he not lie about?
I know, nothing, everything. But yeah, he's an interesting character.
He's not a COINTELPRO target, that's for sure.
Huh?
He's not a COINTELPRO target, that's for sure.
That's for sure. But he's actually under indictment in Brazil now.
Checks.
Years ago, yeah, he stole some checks and wrote some bad checks. And he actually got away, so they didn't know where he was for a couple decades. But now that he's resurfaced in this government, the Brazilian government has opened the case back up. And he doesn't even have to be there. They just have to have, an idea where he is. So they're going to move forward in the case, and he'd probably be convicted in Brazil. And then I don't know if they extradite or what. So stay tuned. But he's, and he's only down there because McCarthy needed a vote so bad that he didn't start any proceedings against the guy, because shoot, that'd be one less vote for him. So, But it's sad. You should see the guy when they show him on TV. He's sitting in a row all alone. Nobody even go near him.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know who this guy is. I mean, what I was saying, Congressman, before you came on. I mean, think about, there's no way you could be a teacher in any jurisdiction if you lied about your resume to that point, right? You first off, you wouldn't pass the background check,
right?
You wouldn't pass the fingerprint check, right? And then when you lied and said, "Oh, I was a math teacher, a science teacher, or whatever," I mean, this man didn't just lie about not having 1 degree; he said he had 2 of them. And then, of course, he said that he was rich. He said he was Jewish. I even saw a text where he said he was black, Congressman. And I'm like, what is this guy? And I'm trying to, but the problem with that is that makes the United States Congress look bad, that you could lie like that and become a congressman.
Oh yeah,
without consequences.
A lot of people dropped the ball on vetting him as a candidate. When people do opposition research, they they should find these things out. And it appears that somehow it got by. And they said that some people turned it over to the press, but they never picked it up and ran with it. So somebody said that they did try to make it aware, but the press never picked up the story. So
Take us to school on ethics.
But
Congress
say, before you do that, I just want to ask the congressman: are you sure you Donald Payne? You sure you're not some hologram right now?
The last time I checked.
Hey, Congressman, you know damn well that wouldn't fly.
He looked like somebody we know,
right? Congressman, you know that wouldn't fly in our community.
No,
smile like your daddy.
Right?
no.
If
We would be gone by now. They would have got us.
Jail. We'd be
They got rid of us by now.
Yeah. No, go ahead, Congressman. I just had to ask you that because you know
Hey, look,
they
get rid of us for less than that.
Right.
That's right.
Come on, man.
No, but I was asking you about this, and this is educational moment, teaching moment. Take us to school on Congress's ethics committee. How does that play out in all this? Or how should it play?
Well, the ethics committee is a very interesting body. Ms. Pelosi asked me to be part of the ethics committee in the last Congress, but I respectfully declined. I didn't want that responsibility. You know, it is a very serious committee too, and you really don't want to be brought up before the ethics committee. You know, you're in a lot of trouble when they come knocking at your door, and they're serious too. They don't play. So, you know, everybody tries to stay on the right side of ethics, but you know, there's
Who
always
chaired the last ethics committee? Was that
Ted Deutsch on the Democratic side, and I don't know who on the Republican. It's 5 and 5. 5 members on the Democratic side and 5 members on the Republican side.
Partisan. Okay.
So I'm not sure who is going to take Ted Deutsch's place since he left Congress this term. He just retired, and I didn't do it. So Anthony Brown from Maryland, you know, I let him take my slot. He was already on there, and he wasn't being renewed. So I just respectfully declined, told Ms. Pelosi, and they put him. I said, but Anthony Brown's willing to do it again. And that's how that went. But yeah, it can be serious. Thank God they've never called me. So,
well, let me look at these. Let me just share some names with you and see what you say about them. Michael Guest, David Joyce, John Rutherford, Kelly Armstrong. Those are Republicans on the committee. Have their names come up in anything unethical? I'm particularly talking about January 6th related stuff. Good.
Not to my knowledge. No.
The Democrats are Susan Wild, Dean Phillips, Veronica Escobar, and Mondale Jones. Mondale Jones is from New York.
Yeah, he just lost. So he's not on there anymore.
Okay.
And let's see. Veronica Escobar is a good woman. And Susan Wild, I know of her, but I don't know her very well.
But you know, guys, when there used to be a time when you could count on some Republicans to do the right thing, you know.
Yep.
And it just seemed like now, since Donald Trump, it just seems like, you know, because I mean, you think about it, if Hakeem would have get what he need, like 6 more votes, he could be the Speaker of the House.
Yep.
You
Absolutely.
know. Yeah. But there was a time when you could count on Congress to do the right thing. Now it just seems like, you know, since Donald Trump, everybody's just like, who gives a crap about doing what's right for the country?
Yeah, the Republican Party is in disarray. It's totally changed, and you know, it's because of the person, the aforementioned person, that it's the way it is. There's 20 people in the Freedom Caucus, which was formerly the Tea Party, are just, they're anti-government. All Republicans don't have a use for the federal government. They think the only thing the federal government should do is the defense of the country. After that, they had no use for the federal government. So all of this education, housing, economic development, environment, they feel is unnecessary. And so the Freedom Caucus actually, is even like, Republicans don't like the federal government. The Freedom Caucus is against the government, which we saw 2 years ago. A lot of them had something to do with this. And it's funny, five of the people in the Freedom Caucus on January 6th asked President Trump for a pardon because of what they were doing that day. That Perry, who's the head of the Freedom Caucus, that Matt
Gets
yeah. He asked for a pardon, and about 3 others, because they knew what they were doing was illegal.
Wow.
And are any of the Tea Party still sitting?
They're in the Freedom Caucus now.
So the Tea Party is the Freedom Caucus. Okay.
Right. They changed their name.
And I remember Congressman, when your pop came on, man, he told me, he told all of us, he said that Tea Party, when he was in Congress, he said, man, they are crazy. He said some of these people are just as poor as everybody else, and they down here fighting for some of the craziest stuff.
Ain't nothing changed. This is the same people.
Absolutely nuts, man. They changed the name, but they're the same damn people.
Yeah. And they've gotten worse than the Tea Party.
And they got the nerve to call themselves the Freedom Caucus.
Right.
Wow.
How do they show up in the congressional report on January 6th?
Some of them had some very scrupulous activities that day, which is why they would ask President Trump for a pardon.
Mm-hmm.
So they were involved or sympathizers.
It's funny, man, that they can do that and have no qualms whatsoever about going to jail. They have no qualms about getting their pension, right? They have no qualms, no shame whatsoever, right, about trying to overthrow the country. But they would profess that they're more American than any of the brothers and sisters, right, in the Congressional Black Caucus who have never done anything to harm this country.
Right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely true.
Which is crazy to me. And all of them sit there proclaiming that they love America.
Yep.
And it seemed to me that every new person that they hire that get elected to Congress on the Republican side, they seem to be more crazy. The folks who are coming, and they say some of the craziest stuff.
Well, the country really in this past election showed that it rebuked this type of individual coming on, because all of the people that were espousing the types of things the Freedom Caucus and Trump, his candidates, they more or less all lost.
Yeah, they didn't get that red wave. Yes,
right. So let's thank God for that.
Although that boy Jones is replaced by Mike Rowland.
Say what?
Oh, my connection. Can y'all hear me? My connection is going again.
Yeah, we can hear you. Well, what did you say that last point?
No, I was just saying one of the seats that we lost in New York was to one of those Trumpites. Jones seat. He lost in in the primary, but it all played out that with Mike Lawler actually taking that seat.
Well, even
And he's extreme
Santos,
right.
Santos,
That's right. He was one of them.
One of them.
That's New York.
Yeah, I mean, if New York had done what they were supposed to do, we'd still be in the majority.
It's 4 seats.
We had
But you had the confuse all the chaos with the governor going on, so that kind of led way for some of the confusion to go on in New York. So,
But
and
they
consolidated. They consolidated several districts because that's how Mondaire Jones lost, because they put they combined his district in with Sean Patrick Maloney.
Yeah,
he beat Mondaire Jones, and then Patrick Maloney lost to the Republican, and he was the chair of the he's chair of the DCCC, which is the arm of getting us elected. So the guy to get Democrats elected lost his seat.
And that's the new face of gerrymandering. That is suppression.
Yeah, they did such a bad job in New York that the courts threw, it was the Democrats, that the courts threw the map out, and they brought this guy in to do a fair map. Come to find out, he's a Republican operative, and he carved it up. He carved it up to help, Republicans. Because there were a couple districts where people got thrown in together. Jerry Nadler and Carolyn Maloney got thrown in together.
Yeah.
So it didn't happen in any Republican districts, just in the Democrat. Those are the two that I can think of.
Yeah.
So
they were both decent Democrats too.
Yeah. And so, you can't complain about them doing it and then do the same thing, and then not expect for it to come back and bite you.
And then you have I know Al Sharpton is meeting. He met with Black elected officials in New York, the mayor, Letitia James, and there's going to be several more meetings about putting a Black agenda together, so to speak.
Okay.
And you had the first of many meetings. And did you hear the Mayor Letitia James speak about that? Did you get a chance? I know you got a lot going on.
No, I heard that there was a meeting, but I wasn't focused on what it was. But I heard they had a meeting.
Yeah, and I'm sure Hakeem may be coming back and talking about, the ask at the federal level from his district. But and with Congresswoman from Brooklyn.
Yvette Clarke?
Yes. Okay. And all of them. I know just this right here, what's going on and how long it's going on. I hope they heard Pelosi as if that's going to be used as a remedy, because is it a possibility y'all still going to be voting tonight?
Oh yeah, we got to go back at 10 o'clock.
And
they anticipate we might be there till 2:15
a.m.
Yeah, we got done about 4 o'clock, and they recessed till 10 tonight. See, they got 2 people flying in from Texas. There were 2 members that weren't there, and they're flying in. One wasn't there because his wife was having complications to a pregnancy, and the other one I'm not sure. But they recessed till 10 tonight to get them time to land, and then I think they might be done tonight, because he got 14 people to move over.
Okay.
So he's at like 2:15
But he's given up everything. He's compromised himself. He may not even have his power that the speaker would normally have.
Oh, I'll tell you what's going to happen. They put that rule back in where one person can object and ask for the ouster of the speaker, and they take it up. And so what they're going to do is they're going to get everything they want, make sure it's in place, and then somebody's going to object to him being the speaker. Watch. Because they don't like him, they didn't want him to be speaker anyway. But now they get everything, make sure it's in place, and then oust his dumb behind.
What's the real issue with this guy though, Congressman Payne? What's the real issue?
He's an empty suit. Nobody likes him. He really doesn't stand for anything. He's just about sheer unadulterated power.
Wow.
And that's why a lot of them don't respect him.
Because after January 6th, he probably went and immediately met with the president, right?
Right.
He was down in Florida.
People said that he revived Trump by doing that. Made him relevant. I mean, at that time with what had happened on January 6th, people were moving away from Trump. And it looked like, it was the beginning of his demise. They say that McCarthy, by doing that, resurrected him. He made him, valid, an entity. So,
because what's from South Carolina, they began to rebuke him. There was enough is enough,
Clyburn?
Yeah, no, not Clyburn on the Republican side.
Rice, Tom Rice.
Actually, what's his not him. I can't think, but they, like you said, they have begun to come out one by one and more the senior and said, that was January 6th was beyond, it was not American at all. And to have, the vice president had to flee the White House because they was hanging him, it was horrible. And you were saying horrible because we're looking at our TVs. If you were there, I can imagine,
Oh, there's still members, colleagues of mine that are shook up. Some of them haven't gotten over it.
And then you have the incident that just recently happened with Nancy Pelosi's husband. I mean, here's somebody who's, the spouse of an elected member, and he's laying on his couch resting.
Right.
Gets attacked, hit the head with a damn hammer.
A hammer. You know how vicious that is?
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah. But here's the real issue though, right? So when you think about, the insurrection and you think about, there's a particular group in this country that could really get that upset and get the support of a president that tell you to let's go and take our country back, and people literally go there and do it. And then on top of that, these folks think that there should not be any repercussion for that, which is crazy, because we already know, Congressman. Everybody said it for the last number of years. Had Obama invoked some black people to do that, let me tell you something. Every army that America has would have been out there mowing down black people. They might have even dropped some sort of nuclear bomb on black folks out there.
Well, they wouldn't do that because it would wipe out everybody. But
they dropped the bomb on my folks in Philly on May 13th in '85. It wasn't a nuclear bomb.
That's the first thing I thought about.
But Zaire, guess what? Wasn't no cops or white people in the vicinity when they dropped it. They dropped it on Capitol Hill. They'd have taken out a whole bunch of other folks too. But I know what you mean. The move.
Organization. Yeah. But there's
they're mowing them down. That's for sure.
but there's no folks in this country who who got more of a right to be upset in this country based on 400 years of history, but we've done none of that.
They proved to be no more loyal. You're not going to find a population within the United States more loyal than its African descendants, in spite of what was been done to African descendants.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, we're more Christian than any of them.
That is true.
And it ain't even our religion.
Yep.
More Christian and more democratic.
Yep.
Turn the other cheek. I mean, please.
We pray more than any other group of people in this country. And at the end of the day, if it was not for the prayers, particularly for the prayers of our mothers, right? Most black men in this country, we would be dead.
Look at South Carolina. Boy comes in and sits down with them, and they welcome him. If that was the other way around, they'd be like, "Can we help you?"
Yep.
Yep. Are you lost? Or shoot, they just pull up a chair.
And he wiped them all out and left one to tell a story. And they took care of him on the way to taking them into custody.
Yeah, he was hungry.
Congressman, I have a question. The question is, what is the chance that those who voted against certifying the vote will face the ethics committee?
I don't believe they will. It's not an ethics violation to vote against that.
Okay, that's a mouthful. How far do you think the Justice Department will go with, given what has been put in their lap by that investigative committee that Benny Thompson led?
Oh, they're delving into it, and they say that this special prosecutor is no joke either. He doesn't take any prisoners. So I think they got the right people on the job, and I think a lot of the Republicans are scared that hoping Merrick Garland doesn't have a long memory when they wouldn't allow him to become a Supreme Court justice. Now he's the Attorney General, so I hope
that would have been about only pick.
I hope he has a little vengeance in his heart.
Just a little, huh? Just a teaspoon. I know, Congressman, you got all this going on down the hill, but you've had the chance to see. I know I smiled when I seen Karen Bass, become mayor in LA, and I know the work she did with your dad and how she came right behind and did the work in his stead with Africa for a little bit. Have you had an opportunity to speak to her?
I have not. I sent her a note on her being sworn in, but I haven't had the chance to speak to her. Several members of Black Caucus Contingency went out there to be there for her inauguration. She
has her work cut out for her with the homelessness, and she has a plan, and but her work is definitely cut out for her.
Yeah, she's just an upbeat, great person. Personality of an angel, but very, very steadfast in her leadership too. She was chairwoman of the CBC and led the organization very well.
Is she the first woman mayor in LA?
Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah,
first Black woman. And got her work. Just when she went out to Skid Row, and to know that she has a relationship with the Secretary of Housing, which is good because she's going to need that relationship with the her plan with housing is to take to give a full plan the persons on Skid Row so they can have housing, a job, and be able to sustain, just not something quick to say I did it, but just a long-term plan,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we all have pretty good relationship with the Secretary of Housing.
Yeah,
used,
Secretary of Housing got a good.
I
I
used to
know,
be with her 4 nights a week.
and I know she didn't. That wasn't her first choice. But have you had opportunity to talk to her since she's been given that position? Has she found her? I don't know. You say found her groove, her passion. You know.
Yeah. Well, it really didn't matter wherever Secretary Fudge was going to go, she was going to be impactful because that's just the type of person she is. She's an incredible leader, great, intelligent thinker, and so it's just a matter of as a member of Congress, she was solving issues around housing in Cleveland. So I mean, it's just a matter of wherever she fall. Her great talents and skills, will be in effect. So she wanted to be agriculture, but she took housing, and the housing market. I mean, the housing situation, it will be better for it. So
That's right. She was on Where You Going Next. She was on Joe Madison, and she had a person on there talking about the appraisal system and how if you have a house in a Black community is appraised for so much less. And I know the assembly here in Jersey was working on that same legislation. So that'll be nice to see that that they're going to meet somewhere in the middle, that we're working down on the ground here in Jersey with it. And it's already being worked on at the federal level.
Well, she used it as an example of her house. Her house is in the Black community, right down the street from the white community. She's got a house that's more square feet, this and that. And the smaller house of the white person down the street is worth more than hers.
Yeah, that's something. Housing is that's something that will bring wealth right in tremendous way to our community, because we have it like, if you can look at it like in Orange and South Orange, you'll always hear a person in Orange say, if my house was just 4 houses down in the Seven Oaks area, I would get, and it's sad, but it's something that has to be dealt with.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but again, I say that, and Zaid talk about this, if we were united, we could really do something about those things. You know what I mean? If we had a Black United Front, if we voted as a block, you know what I mean? We would be able to get those things resolved. But because we fickle and disorganized, we get beat up in all those different areas. I mean, that's just incredible. I mean, thank God y'all sticking together, with Hakeem Jeffries, on every time out. But think about, if the Congressional Black Caucus, didn't really see that, and if y'all were fickle, I mean, who knows? Somebody, other folks, in the Congress would probably go the other way too. But thank God y'all are supporting the brother.
Oh yeah.
And that's the first place they went. And it was to hear Hakeem was like, we are not here to solve the Republicans' problem. I was like, that is not what we're here to do.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you have the majority, you should be able to install a speaker. So
it is a bad look to me, man, for the country, with everything that's going on, and after what we suffered through, with 4 years of Trump, and now all of a sudden, they got control of Congress and they can't even get this thing done. I mean, that's just a bad look, man.
Very bad, very bad.
And unfortunately, for the districts, like you said, Congressman, nobody can get nothing done until these fools get this thing worked out.
Right.
Everybody is on hold.
And Congressman, if Scalise were to be the speaker, what type of speaker? Would he be a different speaker?
He'd be a bit of trouble.
Okay.
He would be a bit of trouble because he's very conservative.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, you know, we had at one time we were kind of on him because he had they had found something out where he might have been a KKK sympathizer or something along those lines several years ago, and kind of was a backlash against him. But you know, then he got shot,
Right.
and it kind of made him a martyr
Mm-hmm.
in the Congress. You know, lucky,
But not necessarily change his outlook. It just
it's
helps.
changed him a bit. He's it seems he's a more thoughtful and kinder person than he was before that incident. But he you know, it's lucky he was there because, you know, being in leadership, you know, he had an armed detail, 2 officers, and they were the ones that took the shooter down. But if you know, if somebody in leadership hadn't have been there, everybody, all of those members of Congress would have been, you know, targets. But luckily he was on the baseball team, so his detail had to be there, and they were the ones that took the shooter down.
Yeah, I remember that day. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't it what the Congress players they were at, it was the baseball team that they had, right?
Yeah, they practiced. They would practice in the morning, like at 7:30, and you know, this baseball game is a big thing. You know, the rivalry between the Republicans and Democrats. Them jokers go out for like a month or two and practice for the game. They'd be serious about that stuff.
So it's one game, but they do all that practicing.
Yeah. Oh, and check it out. They get to use we use the national stadium. They use the major league field for the game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a big thing, and you know, really, I really got scared because they said there was a shooting at the practice, but we didn't know which practice. So you know, Cedric Richmond and Hakeem all play on the Democratic side. So I really got scared from my friends. Like, you know, they weren't clear who it was, the Republicans or the Democrats. So I started calling. I couldn't get through. I was a wreck, you know, and then I heard it was the Republicans, which still was bad, but, you know, it wasn't directly, you know, Hakeem and them. So, but it was sad. It was sad, you know, to see that happen.
Right.
A couple of those
He
guys
had a family, yeah.
A couple of those guys didn't think they were going to leave there that day.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. And you had a member. You had Gabby, you know, who got shot when she was just out, you know, greeting her constituents. So that's a very, you know, you go out to just do something. Well, Gabby was out at the supermarket and, you know, greeting her constituents, and for her to get shot in the head, that's just not what you signed up for. You know, it's what you signed up for, but not what you signed up for, so to speak.
Right.
It's,
right.
Yeah, that day, it's and then to watch her go back through her healing, and to see her now, and you know, her husband out there continuing to fight. But yeah, this is.
You know, we talk about how, you know, other people in other countries are radicalized, but what we don't understand is that, you know, these Republicans have the ability to radicalize a lot of these, you know, these racist white folks in this country to do harm to other elected officials, i.e., like they did to Nancy Pelosi's husband. You know, I mean, which is incredible because, you know, I mean, you know, again, you know, this man is not a politician. His wife is.
Right.
and so, but if you can't get to me, so what? You go and you get to my brother, Congressman Payne? No, that ain't cool. That ain't cool.
And we had the opportunity to see a president who would de-escalate situations. When President Obama was in office, every situation that he was met with, he met it with de-escalation. You had with the professor who was trying to get in his house. He got them two together to have a beer and let's talk about it. When the issue with his pastor came on, he did 2 speeches that have gone down, so he de-escalated every situation. I think the most he did was when he was doing his State of the Union and somebody yelled and he responded, "I know I got reelected." And that was probably the most heated he got in the situation. But when we seen what de-escalation can do, because there were times where things could have gone a whole nother way, but he took the opportunity to definitely de-escalate them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's true. He's much better at that than other folks.
Yeah, radicalization in this country is real, and you got a certain segment in this country that will give up everything they got over a tax code, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the tax code don't go their way, that somebody in Congress voted in a law. I mean, think about it. I mean, we had, remember when President Obama was the president, and remember when they wanted to vote in these Supreme Court justices, and they didn't want to wait, right, until certain people were sworn in. They were like, "No, we're gonna put our judges in now. We're not gonna wait for this." I mean, obviously, who got? I mean, we could have said, "Oh hell no, we're gonna tear the country up," because you guys want to control the Supreme Court. And remember, was it Merrick Garland he was trying to get appointed?
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
they wouldn't get the vote. They wanted to wait until somebody was sworn. I mean, this is just crazy. Right?
Yeah, Mitch pushed that through. Yeah, what they have done.
But let me say this, Donna. That's why, Congressman Payne, I'm telling you, man, we have gotta start a political education, right? We've got to educate our people around politics so that they understand what that really is. Controlling Congress, controlling the Senate, controlling city halls, controlling local governments. Voting in the right president. We got to understand what that's all about.
Yeah.
You think about it, Congressman. If they had control of Congress after COVID, right? Think about what a country would be financially, right? There wouldn't have been any financial relief for folks. There wouldn't have been no stimulus checks.
Right.
Wouldn't have been no PPE money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't have been none of that.
That's why John's not on here tonight. I'd like to ask him, what does he think of Biden now after 2 years?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Biden is, he's the man for the season. It's listen, what they were able to do, and what people were really angry watching President Obama not get angry. At times he perhaps should have gotten angry, or what we thought how he should have responded, to the point, where when he was leaving, it became and I think he understood it, and that's why the last when they do the jokes, and he did the skit with the alter ego, he understood that people were upset and that people wanted him to be something, and and that's when he did the skit with the alter ego and things like that, but but he also understood that he was a leader, and when people see leaders act in a certain way, it gives them permission to do things. And then we seen, after that, what happened? All of that that was sitting dormant or whatever for a while, just in 4 years just became unhinged, and this was ridiculous. Something, and I believe those people who the January 6ers and people who were doing things again, they they had no choice but to listen to a voice of reason. And oftentimes, and most times, Obama was really a voice of reason. People wanted to get mad, but he came out and he spoke to what was better in people, and that made a difference in the U.S. And we were in a different place as a country. We were very respected, globally, I believe.
But you know what though? If we really think about it, and you really just stop and pause for a minute, Congressman Payne, and think about, there was literally in our lifetime we saw an insurrection.
Mm-hmm.
We literally saw a president saying, "I want to be king,
And he came
and I want
close.
to be forever."
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that history. It's the kind of thing that history will look back on, and it'll be horrifying that we actually came through. This is closer tantamount to Hitler.
Yeah.
So
But that's what I'm saying. If we think about it in its totality,
Close.
oh, believe me, I think about it. I think about it quite a bit. I'm living it.
They literally was trying to get the vice president, right? Who is a constitutionalist, who knew that what they were asking him to do was wrong. And then when he wouldn't do it, literally said, "Let's kill this man."
Right.
And they were serious, Congressman. They were serious.
I know. You ain't got to convince me. I know.
I know. And Congressman, you know what?
Congressman Payne, that's what I'm saying. When we think about it, that's why I was calling you. I was like, "Where the hell you at, man? Wherever you at, Congressman, get the hell out of there." These folks come in
and
and
just
kill
think
people.
you're sitting in that seat, Joe. Joe Madison. Somebody called and asked him a question, Congressman, and he referred to when a contingency and then went down to Somalia and they got caught up. And to hear them tell, your dad tell that story, and I believe there was a period you couldn't even contact your dad, during that time, so you've seen some things. So, I mean, at a level we'll never understand.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They called me. They called me at my home, and I hadn't seen the news yet. They kind of called me like, "Okay, there's been a situation," and then explained it to me. And then as I turned on the TV, they were on there talking about it. But even for me, I mean, as I sat on the city council, somebody sent, a white powdery substance to 5 council members in the mail from Newark when I sat on the council. And, at that time, my kids were little, and
Anthrax.
And Donald's job was to get the mail. And so my son touched the mail first. No. You know what it is? For some reason, I got the mail that day. Thank goodness. That's what it was. But he normally gets the mail. And check this out though. They sent it to 5 members of the council. Only one they sent was to my house. All the others got it at City Hall, but they sent it to my house.
Wow.
So I've seen it. We're just targets. We're targets. And for whatever reason, good, bad, or indifferent, it's there's a lot required of people that serve the public. Donna, So it's difficult at times. you know. But
I remember I used to think Mayor Bowser was so mean because he wouldn't accept stuff in his hand, and then you get elected. You're like, oh, I understand now.
yeah,
Mayor,
absolutely,
yeah, hmm
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, you have to.
understand
Yeah,
it.
there's
Yeah.
certain rules and guidelines, you know.
hmm
And I damn sure would be that way if I was in Congress.
Yeah.
I'd be like, hey, Congressman Payne, I'd have me some gloves on, right?
Right.
Like,
Oh yeah,
every time you see me, I'd be like, how you doing? You know,
hmm
yeah, you know, especially with the Freedom Caucus around, you
yeah,
know,
hmm
yeah.
dude, man.
There was I forget what it was, but there was a time last year where they had Newark Police Station outside of my house for whatever was going on. I can't remember what it was, but the Capitol Police contacted the Newark Police and asked them to put a detail on my house. So
Yeah, man. Listen, brother. You know, who would have thought that going to Congress would be dangerous, right?
hmm
You know, now, you can't just go down there and do the job for the people. You literally got to be doing the job at the whole time, watching to make sure you protected, that you can get back to your damn district.
oh yeah,
hmm
You may go to get in your car and something, nefarious may happen, man.
yeah,
Which is,
they've allowed us to they've been hardening our homes now in terms of security cameras and what have you. They're allowing us to invest more money in the security around our houses now.
thank
So
God.
in our offices too. So
Yeah, man. Thank God.
yeah.
Well, listen, man, we've come to the end of the Payne report. We'll give you the final word, Congressman Payne. So Don, I'm gonna start with you, and then we'll give the Congressman the final
And then,
word.
let's be clear, it's the end of the Payne report, but it's not the end of his evening. He clearly said that he has
Yeah.
to return at 10 o'clock. So let's keep our congressman lifted in prayer. And we
Yep.
look forward to seeing you in Black History Month with some Black History news, sir.
You're right. Yeah, it'll be here before we know it, right?
That's right.
Zaid,
Yeah.
any last words?
Yes, January 15, the anniversary of the birth of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We will be in the street, 2 o'clock at the MLK Monument at Essex County, at the Essex County office on MLK Boulevard, and everybody should be in the street, right? Because we got all those things that we were fighting against going into that last election. We're still fighting them. This is no time to go to sleep or to turn it down. This is the time to continue to turn it up, right? And the fight for democracy, the fight for peace, the fight for fair housing, the fight for access to health care, right? And the fight for real justice, right? The time is now.
And for me, what I would say is for all y'all who tuned in tonight, listen, pay attention to what's going on with those young people here in the city of Newark at the Newark Public School for Global Studies. What's happening down there is very serious. We thank Mayor Baraka for bringing that to our attention last month, but we fully intend to get engaged in that in terms of supporting those students and supporting those parents in terms of trying to get some clarity in regards to that, because in this city, in the city of Newark, where we've had outstanding leadership from Black and Puerto Rican leaders, what's going on down there is atrocious. It's embarrassing, and there's no way in hell young kids should feel like they're in danger of being harmed. That should not happen.
That's right.
Right. And so we fully intend to get engaged in that. And we're going to reach out for the principal. And of course, Roger Leon said he would be on the 20th. We're going to fully look to have a conversation with him, but we're going to try and talk to all of the people involved. But more importantly, we're going to follow those students' lead, and we're going to support them. So we thank everybody for coming on tonight. And so, Congressman, we'll give you the last word.
And I just want to say, and we didn't give Congressman a chance. We just want to lift DeMar up, continue to lift him up in prayer.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I just want to thank thank you for the platform and the opportunity to speak to the people out there in the 10th district and around the country, and just have them know that that we're on the job. And even though sometimes your political leaders frustrate you, just know that the majority of them have your best interests at heart. And I will continue to do everything I can in order that the quality of life for my constituents is as good as anyone else's in this great country. And that's what I strive for. So thank you once again for giving me the opportunity to be on with you.
Yep. Rhino, you just popped back on. So you got any final words, anything you want to say before we close out?
Nah, just once again, rest in peace, Gangsta Boo. Also yesterday was the anniversary of Rappers Delight getting their top 40 in Billboard, their standing in Billboard, their listing. So I just want to shout them out. But other than that, man, I'm doing my thing tomorrow on twitch.tv/Rhino CMZ. The Shake Up with CMZ at 3. I'll be on regular time, 3 p.m., 3 in the afternoon. When you get on, make sure you share the link. Make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell and all of that good stuff. But, it's going to be the regular. We're going to get into it. But that's it from me.
All right. Well, listen, y'all, we want to thank y'all for tuning in again. As I like to say, this is the drum, particularly for our community here in the city of Newark. And one thing is for sure, y'all can depend on us. We'll be back here next Friday from 6 to 9. And if it's happening in Newark, we're definitely talking about it. And if there's something going on around the country that we need to share, we'll do that too. But until then, we'll see you back here on All Politics and Local, America's number one political hip hop radio talk show. Later, y'all.
And we don't stop.
Peace.
All right.